in 10.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Monica Marenzi. Here I am back again. And well, welcome and thank you very, very much for joining us this morning for our own online seminar for teachers. We are really very, very happy. We are very, very happy, sorry for that, to have you all joining us this morning. The agenda for today is welcome and what's next. Then at 9:15 towards hybrid education. What does hybrid mean and imply? We're very, very happy to have Luciana Fernandez with us. We will have a break at 11:15. Then 11:30, we're also very, very happy to have Rosana de Luca joining us today, talking about effective communication strategies for business English. Then Clara, our center exams manager for Michigan exams, will be talking about IELTS, OET, Linguaskill business. And then we will have raffles. And we have a surprise for you in our raffles. So what's next? I will give you a very short and very brief update from BAU for the second half of the year. Exam sessions, enrollment, fees, Linguaskill, OET, IELTS, upcoming events, and questions. So, exam sessions for 2022. We will have fixed dates according to the international calendar provided by Cambridge. We are contacting schools to schedule dates and venues. And for the November-December sessions, we will offer paper-based exams in 𝗕𝗓𝗢𝗖, in the province of Buenos Aires, in different cities, in Entre Ríos, in Corrientes, in Misiones, in La Pampa, in Chubut, in Santa Cruz, and in Ushuaia, Tierra del Fuego. And we will always, as usual, have computer-based exams in our offices in Buenos Aires Open Center. Enrollment and fees. Enrollment for November-December will go from Monday, August the 1st to Friday, September the 16th. Students and their families will enroll for exams through our website. We will provide instructions on how to carry out the enrollment to help families and students. For language schools, for schools and language schools and private teachers, we will have a downloadable letter template so you can share information with your students in an organized way. And you will be able to choose the date that you want your students to sit for the exam, and you will be able to copy the link for them to do their enrollment. Payment will go through Mercado Pago. Exams are paid in pesos by debit or credit card. Installments will be available and are subject to the bank that has issued the card. Late entries will be accepted starting on Saturday, September the 17th, and there will be an additional fee, and they will be subject to availability. These are the fees for second semester. Remember that all the fees are in dollars, but when payment is made, it automatically will be paid in pesos. Business English test, B1 Business Preliminary, B2 Business Vantage, C1 Business Higher. Remember that the last exam session will be taken in December 2023, as Cambridge has decided to discontinue B1, B2, and C1 business exams. Upcoming events. Well, we would like you to save the date because our next seminar will be, next online seminar for teachers will be on Saturday, the 20th of August. And we will have a presentation by 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 She's a Cambridge University Press presenter. She has very kindly accepted to share teen appeal with all of us. And then navigating exam classes, designing learning itineraries with students in mind by 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓. So remember to save the date, Saturday, August the 20th. Any contact if you want any information, any further information on Cambridge exams and Linguaskill, you can contact me. And this is my name, my surname, and my email address. If you want any further information on Michigan, OET, or IELTS, you will please contact Clara Nasta, and this is her email address. For general inquiries, certificates pickup, remember that you need to reserve have an appointment in order to pick up your certificates. If you want further information on general issues, info@𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗡𝗥 and our website. And social media. We want you all to share share information. We are very active in social media, so we want you to also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Well, thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce Luciana Fernandez. Luciana is a teacher educator who has 28 years experience in the field of education. She has specialized in methodology, teaching practice, early years education, literacy, and critical thinking. She holds a diploma in educational research from the University of Cambridge, Faculty of Education. She has also 2 postgraduate certifications in teaching for comprehension and thinking cultures. Luciana has presented at numerous congresses and conventions, both nationally and internationally, and was awarded an 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 scholarship in 2016. She was invited again to present at 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 in 2019, presented at the 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 in 2018, and she was a speaker at the virtual conference again in 2021. She was also sponsored by ESAP and Cambridge Assessment to attend the Cambridge Schools Conference held in Cambridge in 2016. At present, she is a senior academic consultant for National Geographic Learning and an educational advisor at several schools in Buenos Aires. Before we give the way to Luciana to start, I would like to remind you that your questions, please type any questions that you have in the chat box, and we will be sharing those questions with Luciana before the end of her presentation. So welcome, Luciana.
Okay, hello everyone. Hello everyone, good morning. I would like please to request the access to share my presentation. Good morning, everybody. My name is Luciana Fernandez, and I am thrilled to be part of this online event. I would like to thank Buenos Aires Open Center and Okami for making it possible for me to be with all of you this morning. I hope you make the most of this session. And as Monica anticipated before, please be more than ready to ask questions and share any comments or concerns in the chat box. And we're gonna hopefully address them by the end of this presentation. So if that's okay with everybody, I'm going to share my slides so that we can get started. So the name of my presentation is Towards Hybrid Education, What does hybrid mean and imply? My name is Luciana Fernandez, and I'm really happy to be with all of you today talking about such an important topic. So if that's okay with everybody, we're going to get started, and I would like to share today the agenda for today, about today's session. So as you very well know, we're going to be talking about hybrid education. And the big question that we are trying to answer is, what does hybrid education mean and what does it imply? And so in order to answer this big question, this is exactly what we are going to be doing all throughout the session today. So we're going to be talking about hybrid education as an alternative to improving students' learning. So if hybrid education is an alternative to improving students' learning, the first question we're going to be addressing today is what does learning mean? We're going to try to build a common ground to what learning means. Now, we're also going to be discussing hybrid education as an alternative to fostering student agency. So if hybrid education is seen as an alternative in order to foster student agency, we're going to be discussing what agency is. We will then be moving on to defining hybrid education, because hybrid education is something that was not born due to the pandemic, but the pandemic somehow accelerated lots of research regarding hybrid education. And it's quite probable that you're going to come across different ways in which hybrid education has been defined. So once again, we're going to come to an agreement and we're going to be answering the question, then what is hybrid education? Now, hybrid education is also seen as an alternative to fostering more interaction in the classroom. So if that is the case, we're going to be discussing what is it that we understand by interaction, and we're going to be exploring the types of interaction that we can find in the classroom. Later on, we're going to be talking about the hybrid learning model in action. We're going to be discussing characteristics, models, and possible scenarios. Hopefully, we're going to be reaching some conclusions by the end of this session. And then, as I promised before, there's going to be a section for Q&A in which we're going to be addressing the important questions that you people are going to be sharing with us. So having shared with all of you, what is it that today's session is about? And as you can see, we've got a very ambitious agenda ahead. Let's begin. So hybrid education is an alternative to improving students' learning. So the first thing that we have to do today is discuss what is learning. Probably one of the words we teachers use the most is learning. So what is learning? And how do we know as teachers that our students are learning? I want you to start thinking about this yourselves. What's learning for you? And how is it that you know that your students are learning? When your students do what, do you say to yourself, hey, my students are learning? Some time ago, I came across, this is a very personal opinion, one of the most complete definitions of what learning is. And I would like to share that with you. Learning occurs when students are thinking, problem solving, constructing, transforming, investigating, creating, analyzing, making choices, organizing, deciding, explaining, talking and communicating, sharing, representing, predicting, interpreting, assessing, reflecting, taking responsibility, exploring, asking, answering, recording, gaining new knowledge, and applying that knowledge to new situations. A pretty overwhelming definition of learning. I'm pretty sure you will agree with me on that. Actually, when I came across this definition of learning, I was overwhelmed myself. But after recovering for feeling overwhelmed, I said to myself, this is absolutely true. This is what actual learning implies. And I want you to notice all the verbs included in this definition. The reason why we are discussing this is because hybrid education is going to provide, if well executed, our students the possibility to engage in thinking, problem solving, constructing, transforming, investigating, creating, and so on. Now, let us begin to talk about hybrid education. And some time ago, and I think it was at the very beginning of the pandemic, I came across this, I don't know whether to say funny, but definitely true situation. So as you can see, we've got a meeting going on, and somebody in the meeting is saying, oh, digital transformation is years away. I don't see our company having to change anytime soon. And just as this person is saying this, COVID is about to strike, all right? And I would like to change the word company for the word institution to help you all reflect upon how many educational institutions were somehow delaying the issue of digital transformation, referring to digital transformation as something for the future, not immediate future, and how many of us educators knew that a change was needed, that we were educating a different generation, and still we were somehow delaying that. And all of a sudden, COVID-19, the pandemic, pushed everything to happen very fast, with lots of educational institutions not being ready, with lots of teachers not being ready, with lots of students not being ready. So I just want to bring again some questions for reflection, and I would love to you to contribute with comments if you may. Like, it's absolutely true that teachers and students were pushed out of the classroom overnight, and usually we use the expression overnight to exaggerate, but this was not the case. It was actually overnight, from one day to the other. Teachers were teaching remotely and students were learning from home. So the questions I want you to reflect upon is, what skills did you feel that your students lacked now that they were learning remotely? But at the same time, I would like you to start reflecting upon the skills that students did have and what they proved you they could do very well on their own. And this leads us to a concept I anticipated we were going to cover today, and that's the concept of agency. One of the things we're going to be discussing today is the fact that hybrid education fosters student agency. So if hybrid education fosters student agency, then we need to define what agency is. Learner agency is the capability of individual beings to make choices and act on these choices in a way that makes a difference in their lives. So learner agency is all about choice and voice. It's about election. It's about self-direction. Now, it's important for you to know that the concept of agency comes from the world of business, and it has been brought into education in the sense that it has become mandatory for us educators to foster agency, the kind of agency that our students will need in their future careers and workplaces. So at the heart of learner agency, knowledge is seen as constructed through a process. And of course, this has to do with taking actions in one's environment and making adjustments to your existing knowledge structures based on the outcome of your actions. So put in a very simple way, learner agency is all about learning by doing. So we can conclude here that learner agency and fostering learner agency is all about active learning. It demands a very active role from students. So there are high agency and low agency classrooms. And I also want you to start reflecting upon this. In high agency classrooms where teachers do foster agency, we are talking about student-centered pedagogies. There's opportunity for students' voice, self-expression. Students construct their knowledge. They have a very active role. They are engaged in doing. They learn by doing. At certain points, there's the possibility of choosing. So they've got an elective role as well. There is intent participation and the student is in control of his or her learning. Whereas in low agency classrooms, we are talking about mostly teacher-centered pedagogies, an authoritarian role in the sense that everything is decided by the teacher, mostly the teacher transmitting knowledge, students having a passive role, students mostly listening or watching. Everything in the syllabus is compulsory, even the seating arrangement, assembly line, and everything has been programmed. This is not a question of contrasting good and bad. This is just a question of contrasting high agency with low agency. And something that we're going to be exploring today is how hybrid education moves a little bit more towards high agency. There's one more thing that I would like to discuss with all of you before we plunge into hybrid education. And it's how mandatory, how critical it is that we educators teach what have been named life and career skills. Life and career skills, as the name very well indicates, are the skills that we educators need to work on for real preparation for the real world. And for the world as it is, and with a fast-changing world, it's absolutely necessary that we teach our students flexibility and adaptability, which of course has to do with adapting to change and being flexible. My goodness, we needed to be flexible with COVID-19 and the pandemic. Initiative and self-direction, managing goals, managing your time, working independently, being self-directed, social and cross-cultural skills, interacting effectively with others, working effectively in diverse teams, productivity and accountability, managing projects, producing results, and last but not least, leadership and responsibility, guiding and leading others, being responsible to others. All these skills are absolutely critical for success in the real world. And so the classroom, whether it is a face-to-face or a virtual classroom, needs to provide students with the possibility to work on these skills. Hybrid education seems to be an answer to promoting the skills we have been exploring so far. So here we go to some initial thoughts. Schools have reopened, but it is absolutely necessary that we look at lessons learned during closure. When I say school, I'm talking about every level of the educational system. We need to be determined to see how we can build on the successes we have achieved. And here I wanna share with you something which is also personal from my professional point of view. I think that now that we have come to what in many contexts they are calling the new normal, it looks to me that we are going back to the old normal more than the new normal. So if we really want to build on all the successes, because I know it has been a struggle, but we teachers managed and we succeeded in doing lots of things in spite of all odds. So if we are determined to build on these successes, and if we have really learned new things during closure, we cannot go back to the old normal. And once again, the answer is looking at hybrid education. Within these initial thoughts that I want to discuss with you, I think that we really have now, and this has been propelled by the pandemic, I really think we have the opportunity to move away from a model that was screaming needed a change. And this has provided us with the opportunity to reimagine education of the future. And if we really want to talk about reimagining education, we are talking about the type of education in which learning does not only happen in the physical classroom. And if there is something to bear in mind, it's exactly this I have just said. There was a time when learning was just happening in the classroom under the direct supervision of a teacher. This is not so any longer. This is not so any longer, and this is at the heart of hybrid education. Now, the fact that learning will be happening not only in the classroom has a lot of implications. For example, that teachers need to integrate technology, obviously, and most importantly, that this needs to have an impact on how we teach, resulting in teaching differently. Children, teenagers, adults, students of all ages need to be exposed to the use of technology. Technology is a must. But as I always say, not everything is about technology. It's mostly about methodology, as we will see in this session today. Now, let us begin to discuss, and this is something that I anticipated before. There's so much going on with this question of blended and hybrid, and there are so many definitions and explanations. So let us try to come to an agreement and start defining, as I anticipated today, what hybrid means and implies. So it's quite a common thing that you find hybrid learning and blended learning, that you have these concepts defined as separate. So you may find something like this. Hybrid learning is specific to synchronous lessons that are taught live and remotely at the same time, whereas blended learning is all education that integrates digital technologies, especially online tools and techniques. So if you are visual, I am, then this would be an example of hybrid learning according to the definition we presented before. As you can see, we've got a teacher with some students who are there with the teacher in the physical classroom, but there's part of the class that is participating in the same class remotely. So this context that you have on this photo now was already happening before the pandemic in some contexts and has become more frequent after the pandemic, with many students who probably could not attend school, or students who had some health issues and could not attend the classroom, and they would not miss the class. So this is a context, this is a scenario that might not be a regular scenario for you now, but you never know. So it looks like it's a scenario we need to be ready for. There's a teacher with some students in the physical classroom and some other students remotely participating in the same class. Whereas this new image we've got here looks like an example of blended education, in which, as you can see, we've got the teacher and the students in a physical classroom, and technology is being used. Technology has been integrated. So we can assume that in this class, there is a blend of traditional and non-traditional or more technological devices or resources. But the truth is that the concept of hybrid education has evolved. And this is what I would like to look at with all of you today. So let us hold our horses, because it's not that simple. It's not, okay, it's hybrid is that first scenario and blended is the other one. It's not that simple. It's a little bit more complex than that. And this is exactly what we're going to be looking at as from now. So what is hybrid instruction actually? So hybrid instruction or hybrid courses refer to classes, and this is really very important, dear colleagues, where there is a carefully planned blend of both traditional classroom instruction and also online learning activities. And I would like to emphasize this, a carefully planned blend. Carefully planned blend. In other words, hybrid classes combine the best of two worlds. This is exactly what hybrid instruction is all about. It's about carefully planning how to integrate traditional classroom instruction with online learning activities. Now, it's really, really very important that you also notice, dear teachers, that depending on the age of our students and depending on the context in which we teach, we might be having our students attending the school or university facilities on a regular basis. But I also want you to know that there are other scenarios which might not be happening now, but might be happening eventually. And I am referring to students not going to the school or university facilities on a regular basis, or having to go, for example, 3 times a week and twice a week having classes from home. This is happening in other contexts. And one of the things that I'm a strong believer of is that we need to be ready for whatever scenario, because the pandemic is not over. We are still amidst uncertainty, and a good teacher is always ready for any possible scenario. And as we will see eventually towards the end of this presentation today, within the hybrid instruction model, there are different scenarios we need to be ready for. So going hybrid, it's a process, right? So this implies definitely making our classes internet ready. And this, of course, and I'm pretty sure that all of us during the pandemic have gone through this, we needed to adjust our class content. We needed to adjust particularly our lecture material to make it fit into this new virtual environment. Now, in doing this, in going hybrid, and as I said before, in going hybrid overnight, many of us discovered that this change from traditional class content into internet-ready material ended up being more effective. So one of the things I'm going to be sharing with you now is what teachers with more experience with hybrid instruction have been reporting. But the general feeling is that students have felt more involved and more active. And I know what you're thinking. This is not the fact that we were teaching students virtually is not the active learning is not an immediate result. If hybrid instruction was well executed, it resulted in active learning. And today we're going to see the characteristics and what is it that we teachers need to bear in mind. Now, hybrid classes, if well executed, if carefully planned, as we will see today in detail, encourage self-directed learning, self-regulation, critical thinking skills, study skills, time management, interaction, and autonomy. And if you think about it, these are all the skills embedded in this concept we explored before, which is agency. And these were actually many of the skills we all probably noticed our students lacked when they started learning remotely. So I think the time has come for all of us to look into what effective hybrid instruction looks like. What does it mean to carefully plan to blend traditional and non-traditional instruction? And how can we do it effectively in the language classroom? Now, as I promised a couple of minutes ago, I want to share with you what educators who are into hybrid instruction are reporting. One of the assets of hybrid instruction is that students are required to do more work on their own. And since they are required to do more on their own, they are displaying a set of skills that result in active learning. Now, another very important thing we're going to be discussing today, and particularly important also for the language classroom, is that now students are participating differently. So because students are required to participate in group discussions and they are required to collaborate online, and they are not expected to provide a response there in class by putting up their hands, they've got time to reflect upon their responses. And because they are not physically speaking, sometimes for many students, having the possibility to participate online has been an asset as well. And this takes us now, dear everyone, to something I also mentioned before, which is at the heart of hybrid instruction, which is the fact that we are carrying out student-centered pedagogies. And I am pretty sure you are familiar by now with the flipped classroom. You must have heard about flipping the classroom. And if you haven't, of course, I'm not going to take it for granted. And I'm going to go deep into this because this is at the heart of hybrid instruction. Flipping implies simply that not everything is going to happen in the physical classroom. Not everything is going to happen in class. There will be moments out of class, moments before and moments after. And as you can see, the moments before is all about preparing. And the underlying reason for this is that the more prepared students are for the class, the more engaged they will be during the class. And as a result of this preparation, and as a result of what is happening in the engagement in the class, Then there's going to be an after moment for extending. Now, we teachers historically have done everything in class. And there is this also feeling that it is in class when we are there with them that everything happens. And I will have to agree. The fruitful moment is the in-class moment. And we all teachers seek to engage our students in class. Now, how possible is it to do everything in a module of 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, or sometimes even an hour? How possible is it to do everything? And the other question that I bring is it possible for students to do something on their own before, in preparation for, so that we make the in-class moment more productive? And so the question is, how do we make the in-class moment more productive? And there's a keyword now that I anticipated in the agenda today, and that keyword is interaction. And interaction is a very important word now. Let us see. Especially for all of us language teachers, interaction is mandatory. So there are some research fundamentals that I'm going to look at now, which I promised in the agenda we would. We teachers want our students to interact. We want our students to be fully active in our classes, but sometimes that doesn't happen, all right? And what I brought for you are some research fundamentals to look at. And these are not research fundamentals coming from hybrid education. These are research fundamentals coming from the language acquisition field in terms of fostering interaction in the language classroom. And look at this. The research fundamentals are, if you want students to be fully engaged in a task, we need to pre-teach the task language. We need to pre-teach the language that students will need to actively engage in the task. Apart from pre-teaching the task language, another research fundamental is that we have to provide support. Pre-teaching the task language is a way of providing support, but another way of providing support is modeling the task, showing them what they are expected to do. Another research fundamental, apart from teaching them the language that they will need for the task and modeling the task so that they know what's expected from them, is giving preparation time. And I want you to start thinking how many times we teachers who are always in a rush, we explain very quickly what they have to do, and then we say, okay, do it. And we don't give them the time to actually prepare for the task. The other research fundamental is how important it is to vary interaction. Having students the possibility to work on their own, with a peer, or with a small group, as well as with the whole class. And how important it is also to repeat the tasks for students to gain confidence. And last but not least, and very important, providing a reason to interact. Now, the problem with these research fundamentals is not that we teachers are not aware of them, is that we want all of these to happen in the in-class moment. We want to pre-teach the language task, we want to model it, we want to give them the time, we want to give them the possibility to interact with small groups, with the whole class, work on their own, and we want everything to happen in the in-class moment. As we will see, the hybrid model is going to give more time for students to be fully engaged in the task by making the rest of this stuff happen out of the class. But hold on, because I'm going to be showing you lots of examples. The other very important thing to know here, which is absolutely associated to hybrid education, is that there are three types of interaction. Because usually when we talk about interaction, dear colleagues, we think about students talking to students. But there are three types of interaction. The first type of interaction is the student interacting with the materials, with the content, the student interacting with a text, the student interacting with a video, the student interacting with a photo, the student interacting with I don't know, with an object, with artwork, the student interacting with something. It's the student and the content or whatever resource I have carefully planned or chosen to include in my lessons. The other type of interaction is student and teacher, the student interacting with a teacher. And the third type of interaction is students interacting with other students. And I'm going to be telling you something, dear teachers. It's not a question of choosing the type of interaction that we want to include in our lessons. We need to include the three types of interaction. And hybrid education provides the opportunity for these three types of interaction to happen. And as I promised before, I'm going to be showing you lots of examples. Now, the challenge is to bring into our lessons activities that promote or combine the three types of interaction. And I want you to look at this. If we bring activities into the classroom which will combine the three types of interaction, then we are talking about students viewing materials to prepare for the activities before. So the students interact with content or materials in preparation for the class. And this is how we are promoting student-content interaction. Then students share activities with other peers in the in-class moment. And this is how we are promoting student-student interaction. This interaction among students is going to be moderated by the instructor, by the teacher. And that's how we are also promoting opportunities for student-instructor interaction. So if you think about it, this question of promoting the three types of interaction goes hand in hand with flipping the classroom. The preparation moment before, for the engagement moment in class, and then there's the after moment of the class where we still have interaction. Now, before I share some practical examples with all of you, I want to tell you that at the very beginning of the pandemic, when we were all desperate and we were all kind of asking what is it that we were going to do, I came across this quote which brought peace to my soul. And I'm quoting Alex Warren from a webinar called 10 Tips for Successful Online Lessons. And in this aspect, Alex Warren said, the thing to remember is that teaching online doesn't mean reinventing the wheel. Your basic teaching skills and knowledge are still what drives a lesson, because they are 100% transferable to the online environment. And the actual structure of a lesson, whether you are teaching from a course book or standalone materials, in many ways remains pretty much the same. Therefore, it's very much a case of tweaking what you already know and managing it in an online environment. And why am I saying that this brought peace to my soul when I came across Alex Warren's words? The first thing was that Alex Warren was telling me as a teacher, what was working already in your traditional classroom can work in a virtual environment. It needs some tweaking, but if it was working already, what was working with your students in the traditional classroom can be transferred to the virtual environment. And the other thing that Alex Warren was telling me, I'm personalizing it, is that it was all about structuring my lesson. that I needed to go back to the ABC of structuring a lesson. And as you must have heard from my bio, I am a methodology teacher, and of course I believe in planning. And definitely, hybrid instruction is all about bearing in mind how to very well structure a lesson. Now, there's going to be a challenge in a hybrid model, because remember that in a hybrid model, not everything happens in the classroom. There will be things happening out of class before and out of class after. So basically, teachers, it's all about making decisions. But let me briefly go back to the lesson stages, which have been heavily researched for years and are not any longer discussed, because this is how we have to structure a lesson. Every lesson needs to have a lead-in, a warm-up, also a moment of elicitation in which we are activating our students' prior knowledge, what they already feel about something, what they know, if they have any experience with reference to what we are going to be exploring in the class. These are very important moments. It's not a coincidence that in many texts, we refer to this as the warm-up. We are warming them up, getting them ready for the class. Then every class is going to have either a moment of presentation or a moment of revision. I might be presenting something new or revising something. And after the presentation or revision of whatever, let it be grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, reading, writing, whatever it is, students need to be engaged in practicing. And there are two stages within practice. We've got controlled practice with a little bit more of scaffolding, and freer practice when we are letting go. And last but not least, then there is a moment of application in which students are engaged in putting into practice that aspect or concept in a new scenario. And of course, then there's the review and the follow-up, revision and follow-up. We teachers are familiar with this. Now, Alex Warren, in the previous quote, was telling us, this is still what needs to be considered, the structure of your lesson. Now, what hybrid instruction brings as a challenge is what is going to be happening when. What of all this do you want students to do in class? And what of these stages will need to happen before or after? These are the decisions I'm talking about, and this is at the heart of hybrid instruction. Now, some minutes ago, I defined effective hybrid instruction as a carefully planned blend of both traditional class instruction and online learning activities. Planned is the word we need to bear in mind. And now we are adding that we need to consider the lesson stages. So once again, in hybrid instruction is all about deciding what will happen when. And I've been promising examples, and this is what we're going to be doing right now. Maybe you can start sharing if you want in the chat, if so far so good, if you have any concerns before we plunge into the examples. I am reading you all right? So if there's anything you want to share with us, more than welcome, all right? So let us provide examples referring to the 4 macro skills of the language, beginning with speaking, right? We want students to participate in a speaking activity, right? So what are the considerations that anybody embarking on hybrid instruction will need to consider? Let's see. This is the flipped classroom moment. Do you remember? There's a before moment, a during, which is in class, and an after. And remember that it's the in-class moment in which we want students to be fully engaged in a speaking activity. So the question we should be asking ourselves right now is, what is it that students could do in preparation for a speaking activity? I want my students to be fully engaged in a speaking activity during class. What can they do in preparation for this moment? And I'm a researcher myself, and I'm an advisor at many schools and institutions. And this is how we worked, or how we started working throughout the pandemic. And I would work with teachers and I said, okay, we want students to participate in speaking tasks we planned for that class in particular. What can we do before? And the reason why you got a pill there, it's because this is a playful way in which we can put this, but what kind of pill can we give our students to make them feel powerful and super ready to participate in the task, in this case, the speaking task that I have planned for them? So as a before moment, in preparation for that class, what lesson stages can I plan in an asynchronous manner before the class for students to deal with on their own? The way I see it, if the speaking task cannot have everything new for the student, it needs to be a perfect combination of old and new, if you understand what I mean. So if for that particular speaking task, students will be needing either vocabulary or structural language that they have learned before, you can engage them in some kind of revision before the class. If for that speaking activity in class, they will need new vocabulary or new structures, you can prepare an integrated presentation. There is this general feeling that unless we present something new to students ourselves, or when they are with us in class, they will not learn it effectively. Let me tell you that students can very well deal with a presentation moment on their own. It will all be about choosing the right resources for this. You can, for example, record yourself and create some kind of tutorial. So instead of having the presentation delivered by you in the face-to-face classroom, they are going to have this video recorded by you. That's an option. But let's face it, there are so many online resources today, and there is so much powerful digital support from course books also, that this is something that the students can face on their own. Now, something else that you can do is model the task once again by recording yourself or having somebody else do it, so that students actually see what is it that they will be expected to do in that speaking activity when they are in class. And another fantastic thing that you can do before is the warm-up or the lead-in, in which students will get to know what is it that they will be speaking about, And they will have the possibility to think ahead with the preparation time we discussed before. What ideas or what thoughts do I have with or in relation to this topic we're going to be talking about? Remember the research fundamentals, preparation time, and giving a reason to interact. I want to share all the thoughts and ideas that have come to my mind. Now, if for the speaking task, students will be requested to use vocabulary, just a couple of things to remember when you pre-teach vocabulary. Provide or make sure that you introduce new vocabulary by providing definitions or contextualizing the new words. You can always engage students in a mini activity in which they have to restate the new word with their own words in an attempt at explaining it or defining it. You can get students to picture or symbol, or you yourself use lots of visuals. Another very good way with older students in which you can present vocabulary is by engaging students with content that contains the new words. So the new words presented in context is critical. And today, there are so many resources in which vocabulary is presented through videos, in a song, in a dramatization. Ask students then to use these words. And of course, as much as you can, engage students in using the new words in games, activities, which might happen in class and also after the class. But there is another very important point here, and is if you're going to be, if for the speaking task, students will need any grammar points, research strongly suggests that you engage students in what we call an integrated presentation. And let me tell you that this really, really works, all right? Instead of presenting vocabulary separately from grammar, you can create an integrated presentation in which you are presenting both. Students will be able to see either in a text or in a dialogue or in a video or in a listening, they will see how the new words are used together with the structural language that is being used in a given situation. So if we make an integrated presentation, students will make more sense of the newly learned words and the language and the function of the language. Oh, we are using these to ask for information, to give information, to compare and contrast. So let us not think that the presentation of grammar and vocabulary for a speaking activity needs to be done by us in person. Let us maximize the time of the class so that students engage in practicing that vocabulary and that grammar. And so if we are now getting into the hybrid model, this implies planning very carefully the before moment for that in-class moment to be absolutely fruitful. I really want you to prepare your cell phones and really, if you haven't visited www.cambridgeenglish.org particularly, there are so many resources that you can use to make hybrid education work. So for example, if you go to this link that you've got on the slide here, you will have the possibility to choose and say, okay, I need my students to engage in grammar practice or listening practice or pronunciation or reading or speaking vocabulary. You choose. You also choose the level if you want it to be basic, independent, or proficient, and also the time if you want it to last from 0 to 5 minutes or from 5 to 10 or more than 10. Once you apply all the filters, then you're going to get a suggestion of what's available for you. And believe me that the resources are so good. So as you can see, for example, if you go to the filters, then you might get something like, okay, you've got for basic level uses of like, independent, family holiday. You've got a description of the activity. You also have specified the level, if it is A1, A2, B1, B2, the length of the activity. And this is why what I mean, like a website like Cambridge English being so full of resources. So it's all about you teachers making decisions as for what you need and how you can include this for your students, for example, in preparation for the class. So, for example, let us say, oh my goodness, I found these uses of like, it's so important for me. And then you're going to click there and it opens up the activity. And you might send the link to your students and the students get here, they practice it, they can check their answers. And I want you to notice how this fosters the very many things we've been mentioning before: self-study, autonomy. I can check if I have this. So for example, let's imagine that students are going to engage in a speaking activity, which they are going to be using different ways, using the word like in different ways. This can be in preparation for. So it's really, really very important that you know, and I'm going to be showing you how you've got all these resources at your disposal, and it's all left to you to decide when students are going to be dealing with what. Fine, let us move on because time flies. So remember, if you're going to be flipping a speaking activity, think before and go to the research fundamentals I presented before to you people. Pre-teach the language for the task. Do you remember? Model the task. Give them preparation time. And when they come to your class, it's going to be completely different. It's not that they will need all that time there in class. And by the time they get engaged, it's the end of the class. You have anticipated things before. And it's not going to happen overnight, but students are going to get used to this. And remember how we mentioned the possibility of voice and choice? From the moment you are giving students a video to watch, or a tutorial to watch, or a text to read, or a photo to look at before the class, students can decide when to watch the video, when to read the text, whether to read it in the kitchen or read it in the garden or read it individually or read it with a friend. So the student is already making decisions, managing time. So we are also working on these life and career skills that we mentioned before. Let us now go to some examples with another macro skill, reading this time. Good. So remember that this is not just about technology, it's mostly about methodology. So remember that any successful reading class is going to have 3 moments: a pre or before reading activity, a while and during reading activity, and a post or after reading activity. Any class, whether it is fully face-to-face, fully virtual, or if we're going to be flipping it, these 3 moments are critical. Now, how do we flip it? I'm going to be giving you now. Some examples, okay? But this is the good thing about flipping the classroom. You can make decisions. There is not one way. So, for example, let's imagine that I'm going to plan my reading lesson like this. In the before moment, I will engage my students in activating the prior knowledge. What is it that they know about what they will be reading about? I can even be engaging my students in a previewing or making predictions or asking questions or making connections between what is it that they will be reading about and their personal life. I might also be teaching or pre-teaching, the key vocabulary of the reading moment, and I might be building some background. So let's imagine that my students are going to be reading a text, okay? I'm not going to be giving them the text before in this particular case. I might be giving my students, for example, the topic of the text. So let's imagine that we're going to be reading about life in aquariums. So before the class, I might be sending my students a KWL chart. What do I know? What do I want to know? And what have I learned? And I want my students to think, what is it that they know about aquariums, for example? I can ask them if they have ever been at an aquarium. I can also tell them, oh my goodness, if you happen to have any photo when you went there, or so students are activating their prior knowledge. I might be sending also students the title of the text they are going to be reading, and why not probably a visual accompanying the text. I'm not sending them the text, I'm sending them part of the paratext. And I tell them, look at the title of what you're going to be reading and look at this photo that accompanies the reading. What do you think the text is going to be about? What connections can you make between the title of this text and your personal life? And you can give them a worksheet where students are going to be jotting down all this. If in the text about life in aquariums, there is particular vocabulary, you want to pre-teach it before. Because then the in-class moment, which I want to be really, really fruitful, is that I want my students to get together and start sharing what they know. And they say, oh, yes, this is what I know about life in aquariums, and I am listening to my partners, and I am learning from what my partners are saying. And if you have worked, for example, with a KWL chart, where not only have students activated their prior knowledge, but they have also wondered what they wanted to know about life in aquariums, they might be sharing their concerns. And then, for example, in class, they might be reading part of the text. So I have selected part of the text for students to read so that students can check their initial predictions. They can check if some of the questions that they brought with them have been answered, or if they can make new predictions and ask new questions. Now, as a follow-up, now students on their own might continue reading. They might be making new predictions, checking new predictions, making new connections. And then, of course, the following class, that's what they are going to be sharing with the class. This is one example in which you can flip reading. But for example, you might want to do it differently. What if, as a before moment in preparation for the reading class, you just do a previewing moment? So if you're going to start reading a book with your students, what a fantastic idea it is to work with a book cover, for example. Or if you're going to be, once again, if you're going to be working with a text, select all the paratext. For example, if it is a text, and how important it is, this is, for example, for Cambridge exams, that students get used to looking at the title and the subtitles, and how important it is to pay attention to, for example, the topic sentences in texts. So, for example, something that you can do is give students, I've done this with students in preparation for exams, so that's why I'm sharing with you. You know, I take a text, like a typical text they would read for the exam, and I just leave the title, subtitles, and the topic sentences of each of the paragraphs, and then I erase the rest. And as a previewing activity, I get students to very quickly go through the text, read the subheadings, and pay attention to the topic sentences of the different paragraphs. And I tell them to try to think or try to anticipate what is it that the text might be about. When they come to the class, they can share these ideas, and all together, the active moment I want to have here is sharing the previewing thoughts. I want to activate my students' prior knowledge. I want them to start making some predictions and asking questions and making connections. And once I've done the pre-reading moment in group, where we have all benefited from the ideas of others, now the reading on your own moment is after the class. So as you can see, there is not one way of doing it. There are different ways in which you can do this. It's all about making wise decisions. It's respecting the 3 moments of reading, before, while, and after, and deciding what's going to happen when, always bearing in mind that in class, where you are promoting student-student, facilitator-student interaction, is the fruitful moment. Now, we've seen some examples with speaking, we've seen some examples with reading. Let us now move on to writing. Maybe you can tell me in the chat if so far so good, if you're already thinking how you can structure your lessons. I'm reading you, and I appreciate every comment or concern you want to share. Let us move now on to writing, okay? Just as we discussed with reading, same thing with writing, people. Every high quality lesson, in this case of writing, needs to be structured with a pre-writing moment, a writing moment, and the post-writing moment. And once again, it's all about making wise decisions as for what's going to happen when. So something I want to share with you, I'm not taking anything for granted, and okay, Celeste, thank you, very good. I'm glad so far so good. We're moving on. Thank you for sharing. There are three very important moments: pre-writing, writing, and post-writing. And it's really very important for all of us preparing students for exams, for example. We know it's somehow product writing, right? Students have to, they go for the writing. Thank you, Grace. We all know our students are going to sit for the writing paper, and they will be expected to start their writing and finish their writing there and then within a given allotted time. But anyway, in spite of that, it's very important that we know that our students have to go through the following. Our students need to have a pre-writing moment in which they will be determining the topic they're going to be writing about. They will be generating ideas. What are the ideas I want to write about? They will have to organize their ideas, because one of the things which are assessed are cohesion and coherence in that piece of writing. And they will, from all the ideas, from the brainstorming, they will select the ideas that they want to include in their piece of writing. Thank you, Patsy, honey. Now, then there's a moment in which students are going to begin drafting. And even if this is happening at the very, very moment, hello, Vivi, I'm greeting friends. So even if students are there and then sitting for the writing paper, you know, there's an instance of drafting. I am writing and I am drafting, and I need to then reorganize my ideas, revise it, edit. I need to check on punctuation and spelling. I might be adding, removing, changing, exchanging draft with a peer, not the day of the exam, but in preparation for. And of course, then there is the publishing, what I'm actually handing in. Thank you, Ines. So it's really very important when we plan our writing lessons that we decide what's going to happen when. Now, one of the things I want to share with you is, with my experience preparing students for exams, we need to, as a strategy, we need to attack the prompt. Attack the prompt is an excellent strategy, because this is how we make sure that our students know the purpose, the audience, and the format of what they will have to write. How many times do our students hand in work which is off subject, all right? Or they are not answering the question. They are not bearing in mind who they are intended to write to. And this is the starting point. This is definitely, hello, Gabi. This is the thing. Attacking the prompt is the starting point. So it's all about making our students aware of what do they have to write. Is it a letter? Is it a report? Is it an article? Is it a story? Understanding the genre. Who will read what I will write? And you know what? Who will read it? Oh, the examiner or my teacher. No, that's not the audience. If I am writing a letter to a friend, it's my friend who's going to be reading it. If I am writing an article for a student's magazine, then the readers are students. Understanding the audience, sense of audience. One of the major problems that we have with our students when it comes to writing. So, hi, Claudia, you're an angel, but please do think of questions, because we're going to make room for questions afterwards. So what am I writing about? What is it that they are asking me to write about? Because understanding what I am writing about is going to help me, for example, with paragraphing. And what is the purpose of what I have to write? Am I giving information? Am I complaining? Am I persuading? Am I describing? Because if I understand the purpose of what I have to write, then I will also know what language to use. And notice how important all this is for our students effectively writing. So attacking the prompt is working explicitly with our students on this. So this is a part of a letter you received from a pen friend. And there you go with the part. Now write a letter answering your friend's questions. Write your letter in about 100 words. Usually, we tell them, so how many words do you have to write? 100. Okay, everybody, there you go. Start writing. Attacking the prompt, dedicating time to attacking the prompt is investing good time on avoiding problems afterwards. Now, very important to make decisions in writing, okay? So for example, if students are going to be writing in class so that you can go and interact with them, you can attack the prompt before the class. Or for example, if the students are going to be writing about, let us imagine that they are expected to write a letter of complaint because of the conditions in an aquarium they have visited. So maybe before can be an instance of generating ideas. When they come to the class, we share the ideas, we select the ideas, and we engage in the actual writing. Or maybe in the before, in preparation for the writing class, I will record myself in a tutorial, or I have found a fantastic online resource where a given strategy, writing strategy, is explained. So students are going to interact with that strategy, and when they come to the class, they will be applying that strategy. So once again, it's all about making decisions as for what's going to happen when. Let us now go to listening, all right? And again, there's a pre-listening moment, a while listening moment, and the post-listening moment. We need to allow learners to tune into the context or topic. I know the day of the exam, they will have to do this themselves as they are pre-reading the task they have to solve, for example. There's a while listening when they are, of course, dealing with the listening activity, and there's a post-listening, okay, offshoots of previous activities or a reflection. Now, once again, it's all about making decisions as for what's going to happen when. And I have found, for example, once again, this is part of the amazing Cambridge material you've got in the link I provided you with before. Look at this prefabricated material that you can make excellent use of. So for example, there's a test strategy explained, how important it is that our students are equipped with strategies for exams, all right? So they are going to have the strategy explained very clearly. So what's happening and what they have to do. And then let's try the strategy. So for example, when are you going to explain the strategy? Maybe, guys, you want to explain this to your class and you want to work on this strategy. So you're going to be using this in your in-class moments. And after the class, students are going to be applying the strategy by themselves. On the following class, they will come and share how they have applied the strategy, for example. Or you want to use this in the pre-listening moment before the class. You use this material and you equip students with a strategy. And when they come to the class, you will see them applying the strategy. You will see students in action. So this is just for you to know that you already have excellent resources at your disposal. And it's all about choosing them wisely. And it's all about wisely choosing when to do what. This is all about hybrid instruction. And once again, this is the link. Again, prepare your phones. Don't miss this. And I want you to know that you've got resources that can be adapted, whether you want to use them in class, out of class, the before moment, the during, or the after. And you're going to have plenty of resources for the socially distanced classroom, something we're going to be talking about in a minute. You're going to have resources for emotional support for learners. You're going to have going back to the classroom with blended learning resources, understanding learner levels, and teaching English online. You don't want to miss this, because you know what? This is going to make your work easier, definitely. This does not mean that you don't have the critical role of deciding and planning, all right? Because remember that is at the heart of hybrid education. I am thrilled to read everybody's finding this useful. This is exactly what I wanted, and it makes me very happy. So as we have been saying, it's all about making decisions. And I am repeating this slide because this is what I have been using with many teachers. This is your planner. What are you going to ask students to do on their own before? And remember that if they are going to be doing this on their own, whatever you choose to use in the on their own moment needs to be very scaffolded and supportive. What is it that it's gonna happen in class? So you want this to happen in class, promoting lots of interaction among students, and also in your presence as a facilitator. And then what's going to happen as a follow-up. So fantastic. Now, let us now, in this last section of the presentation, I am reading Soledad. Soledad, these tips will help you as well. Yes, remember that everything that you can execute yourself as a teacher, then you can easily transfer that to your students. So it makes me very happy that this is helping you. We are now going to dedicate the last section of this talk into looking at the characteristics of the hybrid learning model with more examples. And then we're going to make some room for questions and answers as we promised before. So as you can see, we've got here on our screen the characteristics that we need to bear in mind if we really want to make sure that we are using a hybrid learning model, all right? And you've got all the characteristics here, but I have decided to look at all the characteristics one by one with practical examples. So the premise of a hybrid learning model is the combination of traditional and non-traditional. This I have repeated all throughout the presentation, so you already know. Now, hybrid learning in this combination wants to provide students with a cohesive experience. What does this mean? What has been planned to happen before has been planned with a very clear idea of what I want students to do or what I want to happen in my in-class moments. And the in-class moment, in a way, is also preparing students for what's going to happen afterwards. So a lot of planning is needed. Even though in the Cambridge website, you've got fantastic resources, it's all about carefully deciding and planning. Now, one of the characteristics of the hybrid model, as we have seen in the infographic before, is that there are face-to-face moments, all right? There is no hybrid model without face-to-face instruction. The consensus is that high-quality instruction and effective pedagogy are facilitated best when educators are physically with students. Absolutely. The moment when we are together with our students, when we are all together in a physical space, is the moment. So the key, as I've been repeating all throughout, is to utilize the time better. So remembering some of the premises we discussed before, not everything will happen at school and with teachers. So what will happen at school and with teachers? And these are the planning questions, dear teachers. What can they do autonomously? Can they do this without me? I think they can. Now, this they cannot do unless I am there supervising. This they will do better if I am there to scaffold or so. You make decisions as for what's going to happen when you are all together under your supervision. Good. Now, Personalization is another characteristic of the hybrid model. Personalized learning represents a movement from the what to the who. And it wants to promote student learning ownership, all right? That we want them to be responsible for their learning. So we are talking about high agency strategies. And this is really very important. One of the characteristics of the hybrid model is that it gives students the possibility of choice, path, pace, and place. Isn't this fantastic? And it has been heavily researched how this has a positive impact on students, that they can choose, that they can, for example, if they will be watching a video in which you have recorded yourself explaining something, I can watch it once, I can watch it twice, I can pause it because I'm not concentrated, and I can go back to it. I can, for example, if I am dealing with an activity or a game that you've sent me, I can decide on the pace also, and I can decide on the place. These were things that would not happen in a traditional model. So this, in a way, when we are implementing the hybrid model, we are promoting the agency we discussed early on today. And I want you to know that within the fantastic Cambridge resources, you got self-access study materials. Self-access. This is already telling you this is for students to access themselves with a self-study guide, with clear explanations. All this has been prepared for you. So how amazing it is that your students feel that you are trusting them enough to access this all by themselves. So for example, if I want my students to work on something and I want to see them how they put into practice what they've learned, in preparation for the class might be students working with a self-study guide, for example. Now, another characteristic of the hybrid model is the fact that there needs to be blended learning, all right? So remember, one of the characteristics is the face-to-face moment, but we are also talking as mandatory, we are talking about integrating technology. Now, I am a little bit worried, and I want to share this with you as for this part, because integrating technology needs some reflection. The first thing I want to share with you is that within the resources, you also have fantastic resources. And I like this because it says resources that can be used online, face-to-face, or in both. So you're going to have, once again, this is the link, excellent games and apps. You're going to have lots of resources that you can decide whether to use when you got your students with you in the classroom, or if you want students to access this all by themselves. Now, talking about integration of technology, what worries me is that it's not just a matter of integrating technology just for the sake of integrating technology. The use of technology has to be purposeful and strategic. This is what's going to make the hybrid model work. It's going to be very important. And for this, I want to introduce you to the 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗏 matrix. Let me introduce the axis. What do we mean by rat? The question that we have to ask ourselves now here is the technology I am using replacing traditional resources? So instead of using the whiteboard or the blackboard, I am using a PowerPoint presentation. So technology here is replacing. Is the technology I am using amplifying the learning experience? So I am using technology, and the technology that I'm using is amplifying, is giving more possibilities than the traditional resource I was using before. The T is for transforming. the learning activity has been radically changed because of the technology that I am using. This is what we mean by rat. Whereas pick refers to the role that students are having as we are integrating that technology. Is the role of the student passive? He's just watching, he's just reading. Instead of reading a traditional text, he's reading from a digital text. Or instead of reading the lyrics of a song, he's listening to the lyrics of a song, and the lyrics are displayed in a YouTube video. Is the student having a passive role? Is the student having an interactive role? Thank you, Laura, honey. Thank you so much. Is it an interactive role? Are we using technology for students to interact among themselves? Or are students interacting with resources, for example? Or is the role of students creative? Are they using technology to create something? So this is the pick-rat matrix. And you have to find yourself, as you are planning to integrate technology, where are you in the matrix? Being in the passive replacing is not a sin, and you're not going to be punished for this. It's just a place where you are. The important thing is to move from that place, all right? So instead of using a typical text on a sheet of paper or a photocopy, even worse, photocopy, students are going to be reading a digital text, for example, all right? So I am replacing. And if I just ask my students to read it and I don't do anything with that, the student remains in a passive role. Now, how can I go up to interactive? By asking students to respond personally to what they have read. And if, in response to that text, I give them the challenge of, for example, changing the title or changing a section or doing something creative with the text, I have gone upwards. Does it make sense? So what technology am I using? What's the purpose of the technology I'm using? And what is the role of my students? The more interactive, creative, the better, definitely. And this takes me to something I have found, which I think you're going to be finding useful. You have probably heard about Bloom's taxonomy, you know? And once again, I'm not going to take anything for granted, but Bloom's taxonomy is about different thinking levels, all right? Saying like the easiest thing we can ask students to do is to remember or memorize, and we are climbing up in complexity as we want students to understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, or create. So this taxonomy has gone digital. And for example, you've got some ideas there as for example, if students are going to be using technology just for searching for information or bookmarking or copying or highlighting, we are in the remember level. Whereas if we are using technology to get students to journal or to tweet or to tag or to subscribe, examples of understanding, or if they are going to be using a given digital resource for charting or editing or uploading, or if they are going to be using fantastic online resources for mind mapping or surveying or linking. So as you can see, we can integrate technology, always making students climb in the complexity of what we are asking them to do. Technology is at our disposal. There's plenty for us to choose from. But once again, more than technology, it's all about methodology. So why am I integrating technology here? Does it make any sense that I integrate technology here? Why have I decided that this is better than the traditional resource I was using before? Is the technology I am using amplifying, transforming rather than just replacing? So that's why I have provided you with a matrix that you can ask yourselves as you plan, where am I in the matrix? And another aspect of the hybrid model is social distancing. Now, the thing is that the pandemic is not over, and you will probably all agree with me that COVID-19 and the fact that this is not over, and every time there is something new to pay attention to, this has brought social distancing into schools and institutions. And the implications for this for teachers happen to be with redesigning space, all right, for example, and even considering the fact that students cannot be sitting close together or detaching at the very beginning, you know, that all these are very sensitive matters now. So within the Cambridge resources, and I found this mind-blowing, so I wanted to share it with you. You've got resources to consider this aspect of hybrid instruction, such as the socially distanced classroom. So here it says, teachers around the world are carefully redesigning their classrooms, from changing seating positions and the way rooms look, to staggering classes, teaching smaller groups, or even increasing the use of outdoor spaces. So you're going to be fascinated by the very many resources you're going to find in the link you've got there on the slide. You're going to have plenty of ideas for bearing in mind this aspect of the hybrid instruction when we talk about a socially distanced classroom. And this is something else. This is what I was mentioning before. You're going to have tips for the socially distanced classroom, for pair and group work, monitoring and feedback, classroom materials. How can you do pair and group work before the face-to-face class? How can students work collaboratively with others in a virtual environment? If you think about these people, these are all skills that our students will definitely need for life. And you're going to have, of course, activities for the different levels that you are preparing your students for. So it's really worth looking at because it's going to really help you. And another aspect of the hybrid model are the flexible schedules. The premise behind any hybrid learning model is altering the traditional school day schedule, okay? So it's all about flexibility for the sake of optimizing time, space, facilities. And I wanted to share with you, I came across this and I so very much believe in it. We need to shift from a system where time is the constant and learning is the variable to one where learning is the constant and time is the variable. Isn't this fantastic? Okay, this is exactly what hybrid instruction is all about. Learning does not always happen in the classroom. It can happen out of the classroom. So when, how, with whom, and where, those are the variables, but learning is always there. And another aspect is remote learning, okay? Distance and virtual are appropriate where all students have access. This is probably the issue, right? It's really a variable, the fact that our students have access to internet and a device. That's why in many contexts I've been working with, I always suggest that teachers check on this before. It's going to be very frustrating for any student who cannot access internet or who does not have a device not to come to the class prepared. All right. So my real suggestion here is that you think of alternatives. And when I'm saying alternatives, I have applied this myself. Whatever I was asking my students to revise before the class digitally, I would sometimes prepare a handout for those who couldn't access digitally. This means that students were working autonomously on their own, accessing printed material this time. So flipping the classroom is also a possibility in spite of this, but never take for granted that everybody has the possibility to access internet, because unfortunately it's not the case. And health and safety, okay, something we have mentioned before, how important it is that we bear all this in mind, because it has had an impact on our classes, dispositions, and more. So we're reaching the end of today's presentation by saying that the educational system before the pandemic was already screaming for a change, definitely towards student-centeredness, and the possibility of more positive relationships, definitely foundational needs met, a positive identity, student ownership, agency, thinking of real world relevant skills that our students will need to practice in our classes, but in preparation for the world, competency based, and most importantly, anytime, anywhere. So we have also a shift in our role, people, okay? Particularly in this model where we're gonna be with them physically and where we won't. We will sometimes be learning facilitators, we will sometimes be mentors, we will sometimes be on-the-job models, we will sometimes be lecturers, sometimes we're gonna be resource material creators, we can also be study guide producers, course organizers, curriculum planners. There are many roles we're going to be displaying. At times we're going to be facilitators, at times we're going to be models, at times we're going to be lecturers, definitely, whether it is in the classroom or outside the classroom. We need to be resource developers, and this implies choosing wisely, as I've been saying all throughout, and definitely planners. So it's really very important that you already know that within the hybrid instruction model, we are not just transmitting knowledge and skills. It's very, very important that we provide students with the opportunity to apply all these life and career skills that we explored early on today. There are many new skills to be learned for the real world, and these skills for life cannot be left out of our classes. So it doesn't matter whether we teach language, geography, history, or what, all these life and career skills need to be part of our classes, and the hybrid model makes room for all of them. So my final conclusion has to do with turning crisis into opportunity. As I've been saying, many of us knew that the system needed fundamental transformation. We need to use this moment for the better. So as I anticipated before, it's not about going to the old normal. It's creating a new normal from what we've learned and with the future in mind. Students, providing them with the knowledge, the skills that they will really need to use in the real world. So the hybrid education model in action is all about time in the classroom. It's all about independent learning, and it's all about collaboration. And I will be sharing this presentation. You're going to have access, okay? So you can keep it, and you will probably be able to read this chart that I have included in the presentation, not because I want to read it to you, but because I wanted you to have it. There are different models, but after you're reading this in depth yourselves, I want you to know that intentionality is critical for making hybrid learning work. And I want you, dear everyone, to be ready for any model, because the scenarios will vary. Absolutely. There's the model one, safe return for all, 100% attendance in buildings, live in-person instruction, practical social distancing with health practices, regular rigorous cleaning routines, which is what we are mostly undergoing now in our country. But you might have a scenario like model two, partial attending in buildings, partial live, in-person instruction, partial remote. Practical social distancing, again, health practices, and regular rigorous cleaning. But We should be also ready for a model 3. Why not? Diversified hybrid model. Partial attendance based on students' characteristics as learners. So let's imagine that once you get to know your group and characteristics and their learning characteristics and what they need as learners, all right, you're going to be deciding who attends when, all right? When. You're going to be deciding who stays at home, who attends together with whom, based on those on that diagnosis or analysis or knowledge that you have of students. And then there's the model 4, fully remote learning. And even if it is fully remote, there is a synchronous and asynchronous moment. So once again, it's all about making decisions. So we cannot comfortably rest on model 1. We need to be ready for all scenarios and know that whatever scenario, we have the possibility to choose wisely. And so remember, we are talking about a hybrid model in which students safely learn in and away from school, university, language, institute, or school. So dear guys, it's all about considering all the characteristics we've been talking about, personalizing learning, bearing in mind the competencies that students need, providing students with the possibility to own their learning, and remember that learning can happen anytime, anywhere. And getting to the end, bear in mind Bloom's taxonomy, because this is also connected to the 𝗕𝗓𝗏 model. It's what are we doing with the technology we integrate? What tasks are we involving our students with? Is it just parroting information, or are we pushing them to understanding and applying and analyzing, evaluating, and creating? So also ask yourselves how demanding your tasks are. This taxonomy is also going to help you ask yourselves, as you are assessing the activities that you're planning for your students, how far are you taking them in their thinking? And I would like to share with you, to say goodbye, a poem written by a teacher who actually used to be my student, and she's also a poet, and she has written this fantastic poem. To teach or to reach? To teach or to reach? That is the question. Whether it is better for the mind to be filled and bombarded by lists, dates, and notions, or to be spurred and ignited by why nots and emotions. To teach or to reach? That is the question. Whether it is better for the kid to be caged and kept in a cute, comfy class, or to be pushed to spread wings and dare to drift and try and err, while we watch and guide, always alert. To teach or to reach? To give or to incite? To make them repeat or let them design? To force them to follow or move them to lead? To avoid the unknown or embrace what is free? Dear people, I really look now forward to your questions and comments. I so very much want to thank you for being with me today in this fantastic event. This is my email address in case you want to share anything with me. Remember, anyway, I'm going to be sharing my presentation with all of you through Buenos Aires Open Center. So at this very moment, thanking you all and hoping that you have made the most of this section. I'm going to stop sharing to see if there are any questions, Moni, that the audience would like to ask me.
Thank you very much, Luciana. All the comments in the chat box are great. Everybody has found your presentation really interesting, amazing. And well, I would like to thank you very much for sharing your expertise with all of us. And what I always find is that you show us how we can teach English in our classroom, how we can teach English and prepare our students for Cambridge examinations. And I wanted also to say that you always show us how we can work and in a motivating, a friendly, and you have used the word safe a lot today, in a safe classroom environment. I think that is so, so important, because I don't think that children or adolescents or adults, that no one can learn if they don't feel secure, if they are not motivated, and if you are not friendly.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. I have been looking at the chat, and well, everybody has found your presentation so clear that no one has any questions so far.
I actually found a question, Moni, here.
Okay.
Here it says, how do you deal? This is actually a typical question I get. So probably if somebody hadn't put it in the chat, I would have addressed it. What happens when the student does not engage in the pre moment, in the preparation for the class? You're going to find a lot of students who initially do not engage in that preparation for the class moment, but I'm going to tell you something. You need to be patient, and the word here is consistency. Show them that whatever you are planning for them or giving them before is going to be for them to participate in the class. So the first class, they are going to be at a loss because they didn't comply with what they had to comply with. It might happen the second class as well, but nobody wants to be left aside. So eventually students are going to get in the rhythm. The other piece of advice that I have is get hold of that student who is not engaging with a pre-class moment and ask them why they are not. That's the first thing. Before going like scolding, ask, why is it that you're not doing, or why is it that you haven't engaged with what I asked you to engage before? And they might be telling you, I didn't have a device, or I didn't have internet access. Give them an option. And if they tell you that, oh, no, because it's boring, I don't like it, tell them, how would you like me next time to send you the pre-class material? And next time you include a suggestion by that student. And you're going to see how the attitude of that student changes. Of course, there are very many variables when it comes to students who do not engage, right? But these two tips might help you. So I want to thank you very much. Thank you so much, everybody, for your lovely comments. Thank you, Monica, for having invited me to be part of this amazing event. And I think it's poor people's break, so I don't want to take up any more time. And I want to get everybody to enjoy the coffee break before we listen to Rosana. Thank you very much, Buenos Aires Open Center and UCAMI, of course.
Thank you, Luciana, and we're always looking forward to having you again as our speaker. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a lovely morning.
Thank you. I would just like to remind you that you will find the link to this presentation and information to request certificates in the link on our Instagram account at Buenos Aires Open Center. We will also be sharing information by mail with you after the event. So if you have no more questions, we can start our coffee break now. And then if you are ready, we could start at 11:15, if that is okay for you, or 11:20, so that we can finish our event a little bit earlier. So thank you, enjoy your coffee, and see you in about 15 minutes time. Well, hello everybody. Hope you have enjoyed your coffee break. Here we are ready to start the next part of our presentation this morning. And well, first of all, I would like to introduce Rosana de Luca. Rosana holds a BA in English and a master's degree in education from Virginia Commonwealth University. Currently, she's working on her doctoral thesis. She's a teacher of English for the past 23 years. She has taught English, business literature, Spanish, and history in state-run and bilingual schools and colleges in Argentina, Spain, Italy, and the US. She's a consultant in Virginia Beach District, USA. An active learner training in yoga, mindfulness, acting. Wow, what a lot of different things you do, Rosana. Improvement, stand-up, storytelling, conflict resolution, and public speaking. Since 2008, academic director at Incomes, exclusive for corporate professionals and heads of the English department at Brick Towers College in Pilar. Welcome, Rosana, and well, please share your screen, and we are waiting anxiously for your presentation.
Well, good morning, everybody. Are you ready? I hope so. It's really hard to try to share something Saturday morning. So I really appreciate your time and your energy to be here Saturday morning. And it's really hard to present after Luciana Fernandez. So it was an excellent presentation. And I will recap some of her concepts to start. Okay, first of all, let's make sure this works, you know, technology, wonderful, lovely. Okay, well, again, good morning, everybody. I am Rosana de Luca. Apart from what Monica said, I am a mother. Yes, I have just become a mother. So probably you'll see a bit of a difference between the picture that promoted the talk and what you see today. But well, the baby is 5 months. So hopefully I will be looking like that soon, okay? Well, I hope that you're all ready to listen. I won't be quoting many scholars today. I will be quite self-referential. Yes, because I want to share from fellow teacher to fellow teacher practices. Yes, my own practices, and I would like you to judge. Yes, you have permission to judge today whether they could be successful or not for your practices. Okay, so first of all, you can judge. Yes, today you're free to judge, which is a concept not allowed generally in coaching, for instance. You know, and then validate. Sometimes I will share a practice and say, I do the same. So I'm not so crazy. Some other teacher, some other colleague does it, okay? And then to transfer. If you don't do this kind of practices, then you can apply it to your practices, okay? So that is the main objective, to judge, validate, and transfer, okay? Effective presentations, effective communication, yes, for business English. And you were listening to Poker Face, okay? The song Lady Gaga. Then you'll see why, yes? As Monica said that I am I'm studying to be an actress, to be a singer, to do stand-up. They're all resources I use our lessons. Yes, it's not, hopefully I'll be an actress in San Martin someday in the theater, but if I don't make it, yes, I find very useful tools for the lesson, particularly to connect with adults, with professionals, yes? Then I later will tell you the profile that is really, really hard to connect, yes, sometimes. So effective communication, yes, strategies, effective communication strategies for business English, okay? So some teachers ask me, I teach general English. Can I teach business English? Yes, you can teach business English. You have to prepare a bit. Yes, you have to read about it. You have to get in touch with the topics that are common to the corporate professionals world. Yes, so that you can connect and teach English through those topics. Yes, something more related to CLIL, not just grammar based. Yes, is grammar important? Yes. Then later on I will develop my opinion and my staff, yes, about how to deal with grammar in this context particularly, okay? Before I go on, I would like to recap what Luciana said in her presentation. 3 concepts I think that we can use for this presentation. Agency. It is crucial that our students do. They have to be able to do, to perform. Yes, they don't have a lot of time. Yes, time is money. So they have to prove results quickly. Okay, so agency is crucial. Autonomy. And then what she said in the end was safe. Why safe? Because we have to be there supporting, guiding, yes, scaffolding, and knowing what's best for them, but they should be always at all times autonomous. Yes, they have to show independence. Okay, and blended. Why blended? Blended learning. I coined my blended. Yes, I designed my own blended even before the pandemics. I had many students who traveled, so it was really hard to have Mondays at 8 a.m. Every week, for instance. So we had to try asynchronous lessons. What is that? What does that mean? What does that consist of? Well, I send the student material and they send it back, and then I give feedback, and it comes back and forth. As Luciana said, planning is crucial and it's time consuming and energy demanding. Does it work? Generally, it does. There are no recipes that I can share with you today that you can apply to all the students. All right. So every case is different, but in general, it works, particularly with busy people who sometimes have to be absent because emergencies, family emergencies, work emergencies. If you have a lot of managers, they always have, meetings or trips. So asynchronous lessons to exist in their plan, yes, in their plan of action. Well, and again, I am going to share practices. Yes, hopefully they are successful. We teachers of English sometimes, in order to expand our business, yes, our service.
Hi, Rosana.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt 1 minute, but I think that you need to share your presentation with us in full screen.
Oh, yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There you go. Okay. I move the song, Poker Face. You'll understand why I have the song. Okay. So, communication strategies. We teachers, we say to ourselves, okay, we have to teach communication. Okay, we have to teach communication strategies. Now, remember that this communication has to be effective, and we have to focus on communication strategies for our students and that they can apply. Yes, Luciana said, low order, high order skills. Our students, our learners have to apply it ASAP. Yes, ASAP. They don't have time for drills, for filling the gaps, for conjugate the verbs, maybe mechanical drills for a bit, but they have to go immediately after to the practice, and it has to be significant. Okay, so we have to wonder. Yes, we teachers, after every lesson, have I taught my student, have I trained my student, my learners, to listen actively? And this is not just a concept that sounds fancy, that is trendy. Yes, can they really do that? And do I have to wait till they are in the band of C1, C2? No, we cannot wait. Yes, we have to start teaching that from the basic A1, A2. Okay, so how do you do? Modeling. You show videos. If we have time, I will share it with you today. Some videos. There are many resources in internet. What is the problem? That we have to develop a criteria that in which we use material, we select material that is interesting for our students, and not generally, it doesn't generally appeal to all of them. So to customize, to personalize is crucial. So are my students listening actively, or are they hearing passively? Are we teaching them? I will share lots of queries so you think about it, and you can answer to yourselves. Yes, no, yes, I'm working with this, I should work more. And we are role models too. So can we apply all what I teach? You have, when you train, you're a physical education teacher, and you train a person to box. Can you box? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So there are queries that you should ask yourselves. I keep asking them, I keep asking myself all the time, am I doing this right? What can I change? That is crucial. Yes. Then active listening. Then here now, this is the concept of mindfulness. and you say, okay, do I have to be a yogi to understand, to apply this? This is practice. How do you get your students to the here and now? Yes, breathing. Yes, you need to teach them to breathe. Of course, we're all breathing automatically, but as simple as that, people do not breathe properly. So we have to teach them before they deliver a presentation, before they have an important meeting, they have to present figures, they have to present budgets. Our students have really decisive meetings, so they get nervous. So how do they do that? Well, teaching them with the example to be here and to be now. I cannot be here thinking that after this presentation, I have to change the diapers of my baby. Yes, I have to be here with you, connecting with you. Even though I don't have the physical audience, I know that there are many people in many places, hopefully, listening to me. So I have to be here connected with you. So first, if I could master it better, yes, then I could teach it in a better way. Okay. And focus. That's another important issue. Focus. Yes, sometimes you have students who are answering emails or who have to answer questions. So if you go in company, that is a problem. Sometimes the student is trying to connect with you and you get a knock on the door and they have to go to a meeting. Yes, so those are administrative things that are hard to manage. But when you have a virtual lesson, it's good to have an agreement to say, listen, guys, you don't check your phone, I don't check my phone. We are here and now together. Yeah, so we focus on this, okay? And then to stay with the focus, the homework. What happens with homework with professionals? It's really hard, yes? The flipped lesson, as Luciana said, it's a bit hard for adults. Is it possible? It is possible. It really means that you have to be consistent as a teacher and insist, and to, if you can present the text or the material beforehand, and at some point they will check it beforehand, and it is really rich when that happens, okay? And again, focus. You have to ask your students to focus on their learning, to say, I know that you're married, that you have 3 children, or that you're going through a divorce, or that you're going through a promotion, that it's hectic, that you're traveling every week, that you have 14 flights. But do you want to really learn English? Okay, or you're not in love with English, but it's a must, because otherwise you won't get a promotion. So focus. So your agenda needs to include English, and the lesson has to be sacred. Yes, unless somebody's dying, you don't cancel, you don't arrive late, okay? So focus is crucial for learning, particularly with adults. Respect, all these, the name of the presentation and all these items might sound like cliches, like too traditional, but they are pillars, you know? I believe that respect, for example, is something that we say that we should apply, but we don't generally. Ethics. In the world of business, it's really important that we create a moment for our students to work on the values. Sometimes students think they know, but they don't, particularly, you know, with culture. Yes, they come from a trip from Germany and say, no, because they're crazy, they have lunch at this time, or they eat this, or they eat that. I say, listen, they live in another culture, we live in another culture, so let's respect that, you know, when in Rome, do as Romans do. So sometimes we have managers, I mean, people with lots of careers, MBAs, 2 master's courses in the US, you name it. But this basic thing doesn't occur. So that's why we as teachers, I think that then later on I will talk about the role. We are also educators. Yes, and it's our responsibility to create those moments to reflect, because we live in such a hurry that it's hard for us to stop and think about certain topics and to have opinions about those topics. Okay, going back to effective communication, to strategies. Yes, what do we do? Yes, so we business English teachers, if we have a team, we have to train all the team to work in the same line. So we all have to apply the same system, the same approach. So I will share some concrete examples that we apply in our lessons. Yes, for example, fillers, the a typical mistake when you ask students, adult students, to speak is fillers. I try to make jokes about it to be funny. Humor is crucial with adults without offending them, of course, being really, really careful about that. For example, I call it the sheep syndrome. It says, I exaggerate, they laugh, and then we try again. Okay, so to remove the S, I have counted the S. How many? Well. I mean. So first of all, to be aware of the fillers and to not abuse them. I tell them, listen, they are addictive. And sometimes they don't understand when you repeat many times, they cannot grasp it. So I make a joke, and this is not politically correct, but it's funny. So it works with students. I tell them, listen, fillers are like cocaine. They are addictive. They laugh and they remember. Yes. So that's why I am working on learning humor and how to use it in the lessons so that the objective of the lesson is grasped. Yes. And they can apply the language I want. Yes. Then body language. Again, a cliche. Everybody knows that body language has 55% of the importance in the impact of delivering an effective message. Now, we know that. Can we apply it? Can we manage our face? Can we control our body, our facial gestures? What about virtual meetings? Yes, I can swear that most of the students have like a tick, when they start speaking, because they concentrate on being accurate, which is like they cannot allow themselves to make mistakes, grammar mistakes. They want to be accurate, which is something that we work on. We say, listen, people, you have to focus on the message, on communicating. Yes, as you go, as you improve in the levels of learning English, you will become better and better. But to start, you need to communicate. That's the most important objective. So people start nose, ear, hair, women, with the hair. Okay, so we work a lot on removing those habits in order to look more professional and for communication to be effective, truly effective. Another item that we work a lot is time management. Time management. We usually start our lessons with, okay, introduce yourself. Yes, and we time it. Say, okay, with chronometer. Chronometer is our best friend. Introduce yourself. Okay. Well, I am Maria. I work in a company. I am married. I am an engineer. I am from Pilar. Well, I don't know. What else? You see? Okay. And sometimes when the lower the level and the harder it seems for this to happen, yes, I say, okay, let's switch briefly to Spanish. Tell me, introduce yourself in Spanish. And they have public speaking difficulties in the mother tongue. So first of all, they cannot achieve tasks such as introducing themselves in the mother tongue. So sometimes the public speaking, yes, difficulties transfer to English. So we have to work not only English, but public speaking and time management. They want to present a project. Time management is crucial. They cannot take 2 hours to present the project. It's short and sweet. So time management. Okay, introduce yourself. How long have you been speaking? I don't know. But tell me, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. How long? I don't know, 3 minutes. Well, it was 4. But 4 filled with well, I don't know. What else? So it's training. It's like a system. And clarity. Yes, the lower the level, students keep, with their linguistic ambition, yes, to say more and more complex, they try to express structures that they are still not ready for. So the message is not clear. Even the ones who are in the band of B2, C1, they try to sound sophisticated and the message is not clear. So clarity is crucial. So again, as teachers, are we paying attention to this, or are we more interested in the number of words they say, or if they can speak really, really fluently, but then is the message clear? So they're all items that we need to take into consideration when training our students. Then check comprehension. Sometimes they bring handbooks, they bring a PowerPoint, they bring lists of figures, yes, and they have to present, and they don't understand it. So how are you going to present something that they don't understand? So comprehension is like what Luciana was saying about younger learners, probably school students, yes. This transfers to adults. Sometimes they come to the English lesson without this mastered reading comp. It's not that it's easy. And there are people who have mostly finished university careers. So still, maybe they finished their career a long time ago. So they're not used to reading and the speed that we observe at the beginning of the training. Yes, I mean, fortunately, it evolves. But at first you see the timing. That's why timing is so important, because it takes too long to read the text, too long to speak, to express some message clearly, yes? And writing also, writing takes forever. So our students don't have 2 hours to write an email. They have to solve it quickly, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. So we have to, our goals as business English teachers, trainers, is to reduce those times and how easy it is for them to do it. If they have to resort to the Google Translator, we have to make sure that in a short time, they can achieve that objective. Okay, a typical example that I do is show must go on with the song. I play the song, you know, Freddie Mercury. I don't know if the audience, if there are many young teachers, but I imagine you know the song, show must go on. Well, the teachers the students start speaking and they start laughing when they make mistakes. I no, but start again. No, listen, you're in front of the board of directors, you have 20 people looking at you. Yes, 1 hour. You cannot start again. You cannot laugh. You cannot say, oh, I'm sorry. So that's why it takes me to a second item, which is poker face. Yes, Lady Gaga. So poker face. Why? Because if they are reading a contract aloud and they say, ay, no, ¿cómo se pronuncia? I don't know. So if they start like that, while they are performing their position, their job, it doesn't look serious. It takes them away from the professional image they want to show. So show must go on and poker face. There are 2 concepts coined by me totally. Yes, I didn't get it from any scholar from Finland. Yes, it works for us, for me and for my team for many years. So hopefully you can use it. So they know show must go on. When the chronometer is on, we work with 2 modes: study mode and exam mode. What is exam mode? Well, if you're training for an international exam, it's exam mode with a chronometer, no help. If it is study mode, we work together. How the direction, what does the direction say? How you do it? We pre-teach the vocabulary. Yes, the same with the monologue for speaking. Now, when it's exam mode, chronometer on and show must go on. I mean, if you don't remember the word, use another one. If you make a mistake, I even tell them don't apologize. So say, "I'm sorry," because you stop the flow. And when you're talking to native speakers of the language, they're not very patient with that kind of attitude. So poker face, even if you know that you're pronouncing wrong, and keep going. Poker face, show must go on. Another slogan that we use a lot is no pain, no gain. You know, students generally feel like we focus on speaking and listening in the lesson, and then reading and writing for homework. If they don't do it, which happens, some lessons have to be planned for reading and writing. Although some people keep saying, no, I only want to listen and speak. But well, we tell them, we explain that it is important to work on all the skills to improve their performance. So the general feeling of students when you use chronometers and it's a pressure, yes, or you give them homework to record a video, or some people are really embarrassed to record a video, so they film, they record audios, or they write a script. But then later on I will develop about the script. Is that they sweat, they say, I feel like I'm in the gym. So we say, no pain, no gain. Or I have the practice to present them with authentic material that is not prepared for students, or with levels that are beyond their level. If I'm teaching a B1, I tell them, okay, listen to this, that is C1. And they, of course, suffer a lot. Yes, they are totally out of the comfort zone. And I say, listen, no pain, no gain. If you want, I play a B1 or an A2, and I tell you, you're a genius, bravo, bravo. But do we have time for that? No. So you choose. What do you choose? And they eventually choose to sweat. Yes. So no pain, no gain. They know the slogan. Role plays are crucial. Yes. In my introduction, you heard that I'm studying. I'm working on to improvise, to act. Why? Because it helps me develop the scripts or the situations with role plays with students. Okay, fire me. Okay, hire me. Okay, now I am your boss. I say that your budget is not okay. Convince me. Yes, persuade me to accept your proposal. So all the times it helps me sometimes out of the plan, because what happens with the professionals is that you have a plan, and sometimes you have to change because they bring a presentation or things arise. So generally it is recommended to have a plan and to have a line. However, it is better if we adjust to their needs. Yes, the typical el emergente, we have a lot of that. So we need to adjust, and the role plays help a lot. Then the devil's advocate, to debate on a topic, generally that is important, that is significant for them. If they're going to go to the appraisal and their salary is going to be discussed according to their performance, and their human resources manager or their own manager is going to judge their performance, then to make sure that they say something, no, because I trained very hard this year. Yes, but you were absent. 20% of absent. You were absent for 20% more than last year. So I play the devil's advocate. So a role play, or if we have a group lesson, we assign roles and they have to argue all the time, arguing, which is a high order skill. High order skill that sometimes people don't know how to do this even in the mother tongue. So that's why it's double difficulty. It's double difficult for us. And the pancake practice, which is also coined by me. Yes, I invented this concept that sounds funny, but it's really useful for fluency. So now you're in favor of hiring this candidate. Now you're against. Now you're in favor of the end of the year party in a hotel. Now you're against. Now you're in favor, like this with many situations. So students have to think quickly, creatively, yes, improvise, because life is you have to improvise. You cannot prepare your speech. So I tell them always, listen, people, it's better that you suffer with me and not in real life. So they laugh, but they eventually they thank us for that. Okay, uninterruption. This is a technique I learned in acting also. Interruption. So the person is speaking, is delivering a conversation, and you interrupt them. You make a noise, or you look some other place, or you visibly start checking your cell phone. So the person has to notice that and do something to catch your attention as a part of the audience, and keep concentrated. That is the important thing, to keep the focus on what they are saying, yes, without being distracted with whatever you're doing to interrupt. Okay. So as I told you before, our learners need actions. If the company pays for the lessons, they need results. They need actions. Their favorite word in general of most of the students is KPIs, key performance indicators. Yes, I have to measure my learning. Say, what have I achieved? The good, very good doesn't work here. Yes, the intermediate, beginner, no. Say, listen, I am in A1, I have to be in A2 by this time, B1 in so many months. And what can you do? Can you really introduce yourself effectively? Can you really do this So introduce yourself, we practice it a lot. Ideally, it's not the idea to be rehearsed, but well, it's the way they introduce themselves. So it's crucial that they can do it without stammering, without a lot of fillers, that they can close. Closure is a big difficulty. Closure. They don't know how to finish it. I'll say, okay, well, have you finished? Okay, if I have to ask you, it doesn't work. So we work a lot on presenting, developing, and concluding. Yes, the structure. Then present figures. Present figures. They bring PowerPoint. Sometimes we have to teach them how to develop how to design the PowerPoint, because they are all crowded with figures, and not even they even get lost when they are introducing the figures to their team. So we have to teach them how to organize information so that it looks friendly, okay? And summarize. That is crucial for our students to learn. They generally have a difficulty. I tell them, have you watched the presidential debates? They have 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Well, sometimes in business, as I told you before, time is money. So short and sweet. The attention span is complicated in most of the adults. So we have to make it short and clear. So summarize. How do we work this? Text, summarize. Audio file, summarize. Everything, summarize. Write a summary. So summarize everywhere from day one. From day one. From even if they start from scratch. But if they're true beginners, well, and I know that some people hate and think that it's a terrible sin to use translation. But to be honest, A1 and A2, if you don't use a bit of translation, people get lost and get discouraged. I tried once in my life to learn Japanese, and the teacher had this strong belief that it was full include. I had to be all the time listening to Japanese. I didn't understand anything. End result, 3 months, I quit. And what have I learned of Japanese? Nothing. O genki desu ka, I think I remember. Yes, and that's it. So I think it's crucial to always be a learner. So as a student of French, I studied 3 years with a private teacher twice a week. Yes, I am an A2. Yes, I am very limited to speak, to improvise. Why? Because I can sing Edith Piaf, no, rien de rien. Now I go to Paris, to France. I want to buy a menu McDonald's. I don't remember how to say ice, and I'm je voudrais. I cannot communicate. Period. 3 years of private lessons. Okay, I sat for the international exam to certify the A2, but I cannot speak. You see, so I say, what have we done wrong there? Too much grammar. Yes, thinking if the focus on accuracy. So until you get to B2, let's forget about accuracy. Let's make it a priority to communicate effectively. Otherwise, the focus is somewhere and you don't communicate. And we have students who spend years, yes, like 10 years, 15 years, coming and going from different courses and never making progress. And that has a consequence for their finances. They cannot achieve, they cannot apply for positions that they are totally capable of having. Bad English is an obstacle. So that's why we business English teachers have to make sure that we think about all these items so we can help them make progress as fast as possible. ASAP, as I like to say. Okay, ASAP. Okay, summarize. Okay, read and understand general idea and specific data. Skimming and scanning, it sounds basic, but they don't know how to do it because they read, not to talk about reading aloud. Reading aloud is really hard for them to read aloud. So eventually they understand when they are reading aloud, they understand the concept, but just when they start, they don't. They struggle really severely with reading aloud. And reading, sometimes they read and they don't know what they read. They understand isolated words, even advanced learners. And which is the problem, which is the difficulty that I found. focus. They don't have the attention. So they are reading, but their mind is somewhere else. So we have to train them not only English, we have to train them to focus here and now. Here and now, we are here reading this text. What is this text about? So, of course, that we have to follow the pattern that Luciana mentioned in her presentation. Of course, the pre, the while, the post. Okay? And eventually, in exam mode, at some point, you have to say, okay, read this and see what it is about. Read this, and without presenting previously the words, infer the meaning of the words that you don't know. Yes, why that practice? That maybe it's not the best of pedagogy, because in real life, they have to do it. They are presented with the text and they don't have time to take it to the lesson. They have to solve quickly on their own. Yes, on their own. And sometimes if we are sweet and nice and we have time, we could be helping them with listen, I have this, can you help me out? Yes, sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. So our goal is to teach them to solve on their own quickly, ASAP, okay? Infer meaning, read aloud, and understand the general idea, and then if you don't remember, go back to scan the text for whatever the figure, yes, that they remember. Okay, and interact fluently, not necessarily accurately. And this is a big issue, because I sound like an Indian when I talk, okay? Like a native de un pueblo originario, see? Because it sounds awful, but well, they say it. So I said, listen, you will have some time, you need some time to speak like the Queen of England. It's very hard to get to that model. Yes, I'm not even native speakers speak like the Queen of England, okay? No, I like British, no, I like American. Listen, let's think about the model of international English. And you have to understand all the dialects, not just one or the other. And for you to speak like an educated native speaker, yes, you need some time and preparation. So far you need to communicate now, today, tomorrow, right now. So speak with the tools that you have. So it's very hard for them to grasp, yes, to understand that they cannot apply all the grammar that they want, yes, right now. So it's really important for us to insist that fluency comes before accuracy in our target of students. Yes, if I'm talking about students in a bilingual school that are preparing for a certificate, it's a different thing. Yes, now here we are in a hurry for them to communicate meaning effectively. Yes, so accurately is not the main aim. Again, I am not quoting any scholar. This is our experience for many years and what things worked. Yes, eventually students get to C1, get managers, get to be managers and to manage English accurately. But it takes time. In the meantime, what do? We don't speak? No, we have to speak with mistakes that don't affect meaning. If they confuse 3, 30, and 13, it's not the same a $13 million than a $30 million than a $3 million contract. So mistakes don't have to alter, you know, the meaning. So just those kind of mistakes are terrible, let's say, but not the others. Okay. Yes, he works. Can we focus on no, he forgets the S. He forgets the past tense. Well, if he says yesterday, if he says last year, well, let's go. Bravo. Yes. Otherwise, now we'll get to the profile of the learners. But well, visual literacy. There are lots of images that they have to read. Body language in the meetings, and emotional literacy. They say, no, come on, he's an engineer, he has an MBA. What are you going to teach? Yes, she's working on her PhD. Well, but is she emotionally literate? Does she know that we have 4 basic emotions? That you can be angry, you can be sad, you can be joyful, you can be scared. Four emotions. Does she know if she's angry, how angry she is? From 1 to 10. Is she angry number 9? Okay, if she's angry number 9, can she be aware of that? Can she regulate it? Can she be smart enough to say, okay, the meeting not today because I will not be effective today. So let's postpone it to tomorrow. I relax. Oh no, I cannot postpone it. So I go to the meeting. So I will go to the bathroom, wash my face. All the things we teach to little kids at school, well, the same to adults. Yes, are we emotionally literate? We were not taught how to read, our emotions, how to regulate our emotions. So all these items are important to teach and to see if they make progress and to include them in the famous reports for human resources. And visual literacy. Corporate students have a tendency to be rigid. I don't want to say all our students are rigid. That's why I say have a tendency. Yes, engineers, accountants, because they are really focused on hard data, yes, on the other side of the brain. So it's our task, I believe, that they trust us with their training to educate them on these topics. And of course, we have to keep reading and studying because it's we study to be teachers of English. So we have to get seasoned to deliver this kind of holistic service. But it is crucial for this kind of students. Okay, and write coherent and effective messages. Write coherent and effective messages. Again, many students can write. Now, are they coherent? Or let's say that they will have advanced students, B2, C1, more advanced students. Are they effective, or do they write like 400 words, nobody reads them, they don't touch the audience? So we have to go over the tone of the message. We have to go over the word choice, word economy, how to sound warm. So the farther you go in levels, the more you have to think about the impact the word choice produces, okay? Then the famous monologue. And here I have a sample. Yes, this student was very nice as to let me share her production. In general, we say that starting B1 onwards, you need to improvise. You cannot write a script and read it because life is not like that. Speech is not like that. So we encourage our students to improvise about a variety of topics. A lot of international exams have really interesting material, mostly Beck. Yes. So we use those books to talk about these topics, or business topics. Okay, or sometimes we develop it ourselves, depending on the student and the interest of the student. The idea is that it's unrehearsed, and sometimes we give them preparation times, and sometimes we don't give them preparation time, because our practices have to resemble real life. So we encourage them to be unrehearsed. Eventually, there is a moment in which we pre-teach and we scaffold all what Luciana said, but at some point, like the real test is this. Okay, speak about this. And hopefully for those who are really bold and courageous, for homework, they record a video like Camila did, okay? She's very young, she's been studying for a while. She's really a very responsible student, a brilliant professional. She's quite rigid in the sense that it's hard for her to improvise and to be creative. So I'm sure that this was not improvised, but well, I couldn't get the permission of my students to share their videos. So I had to be ethical and not share it. So I'm working on that as well. Yes, we have Instagram, and I say, come on, this video is wonderful. Why don't you share the successful tips for hiring people? Why don't you let me publish? They're still embarrassed. So that is something that we're working on, because 21st century, we need to sell our services, our professional profile. So it is important to produce videos and share them. But well, that's something in progress. Well, this lady was very nice as to share. I will share the video. Hopefully you can listen it properly. Let's see.
My name is Camila Wensier and I work as an HRBP in HB Fuller. English being the most commonly used language in a corporate world. But what HR expects for a candidate in a job interview? We expect that the candidate could be fluently in both writing and speaking. However, the job interviewer will be focused and interested in how the candidates say things instead of how they say it. So be prepared to do a level exam, but focus on the answer that you give. Why is so important to know English for a job interview? It's so important because you will get more possibilities to grow in that company and to be considered rather than other candidates in the hiring process. Thank you so much.
Okay, okay. This I'm sure was not unrehearsed, but well, I value that she let me share, you know, her production. And of course, if I show you perfect productions, they are not real, because that's why they are students and they're in the process. Okay. So this was Camila. Okay, and she's preparing a 𝗕𝗕𝗢𝗖𝗔𝗢𝗘𝗔𝗥. She would like to certify her skills sitting for an international exam. So Camila, this was Camila, B2 student. Okay, the chronometer. The chronometer is useful for all the skills, for listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Why? Because you can keep record and compare and contrast. So you can be concrete about, you can measure their progress somehow. So you can keep record, and this is a can-do statement, particularly for thinking about human resources reports, or even for the students themselves, so that they can see. Students find it really hard to see progress, because their self-esteem is generally low as a student. So it's good for them to see evidence, So books, shall we use books? In general, some students prefer to adopt the textbooks to have like a line, and when they're on their own, they can keep working with independence, particularly self-study, so they can check immediately and they get instant feedback, like live worksheets. Yes, grammar. Grammar is a component, but it's not a star. Yes, grammar shouldn't be a star in our experience. Otherwise, they're too focused on accuracy, and fluency doesn't go forward. And we have to teach them to use dictionaries, translators as a tool, not to depend always on the to hug the dictionary as a life saver, but to use them as a tool. Okay, tests. For us, the most important thing is to perform. Yes, performance-based assessment. Okay, write the email that your boss asked you for your colleague in Detroit. Yes, show me what he wrote, what the original email was. Tell me what you answer. That is a real assessment for us, like evidence of progress. International certifications are great, so we encourage them to prepare them. We ask them to commit, because it requires further commitment regarding the sample test, the exam situation, so they have to work on their own. Otherwise, we cannot have time in our lessons to do it. It's not like a bilingual school that you have many hours a week to train. So we need the engagement, the total commitment from the student to do homework. Yes. So these are all the exams that we use material from all these exams. Yes, believe it or not, we have had a student who brought the Duolingo test that needed to complete for a university. IELTS, it's really popular. Lots of people who are moving to Australia, to Canada, are required to have IELTS, a band 7, a band 8, depending on their careers. I'm sharing experience. Yes, I'm not promoting an exam or anything. I'm just sharing our experience in our School of English. Okay, I'm business English, B1, B2, and C1. What used to be called preliminary advantage and higher, it has really good material, useful material. So even if the student is not ready to prepare for an exam, we use the material so that they are in the way that if at some point they decide, they can do it. Okay, they are trained. Okay, our role. Are we teachers? Are we trainers? Are we educators? Are we coaches? If you can complete the coaching training, it's wonderful, because you have more tools. Here I included an advanced learner who is a coach, and he shares a concept of the getting out of the comfort zone. So I would like to share, which he looks much more relaxed. This is really improvised. So I want you to see the difference, and this is the aim. This is where we would like all our students to get.
Hi everybody, my name is Manuel Montaner and I am a professional master coach. My friend Rosana de Luca invited me to share with you the benefits of getting out of the comfort box. As you may know, the comfort box is a mental state in which you feel certain security that make us believe that from there we can control our own lives. In fact, it's a limiting thought that prevents us from living other experiences or learning something new or simply generating new possibilities. Living that place brings many benefits, such as resilience, tolerance to frustration, acquisition of new skills, creativity, self-confidence, among others. These benefits will make you live a life fuller, will grow your self-esteem, and you will develop the right tools to solve your best challenges. Have an excellent journey.
Okay, as you can see here, Manuel can make pauses, he smiles, he's relaxed, he smoothly got to the conclusion, he could improvise, presenting the concept, closing, and being sounding confident and transmitting. I mean, he's not confusing fluency with speed. Yes, when you ask students to read aloud or to speak it, they try to blah, 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 to speak really fast so as they sound fluent. And so that is a struggle that we have in the lessons with students. Really, authentic material that is not prepared for students. Do we have to include it? When? In our experience, it's the best thing is if you include day one, even if it is A1, A2. Otherwise, the student feels that they are too far from learning English. So what to use? Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts. Which people should you follow? There are tons. That is a problem. We have piles of resources. That's why, which one do you choose? First of all, you have to like it. You have to be interested. And if you like those profiles that you're following, then you screenshot. I use a lot of screenshots and to pre-teach. So you send it and you trigger, the debate later on in the lesson with that topic. And generally it has to do with technology, with how to invest. Warren Buffett is good. It's interesting. It gives you material to discuss. And business gurus, of course. Real estate is also important. Okay. What are the characteristics of our learners? Yes, the main issue is the attention span. When you start working on listening, sometimes the audio file is 1 minute, and they say, "What is the audio about? Can you play it again?" I say, "Listen, in real life, you cannot play it again." Yes, in international exams, generally it displays twice. There are a few that is only once, but real life is only once. So we have to train attention span. It's like public speaking. They don't have it in the mother tongue. They go away with their minds. Why? Because they don't respect us, because they don't care? No, because they can't. Yes, burnout. Most of the students, when they get on the Zoom, they're like zombies. Yes, totally burnout. With children, with their real life, you see. And short attention span is the main characteristic. They have difficulty to connect, not with internet. Yes, luckily, like all the students have good internet connection. Yes, all good internet connectivity, but they have difficulty to connect because they come from chaos. So they have to stop the chaos, connect, and then continue in the chaos. And low self-esteem. Yes, they're really, they find it really hard to tolerate mistakes. Really hard to accept that they're making mistakes. No, soy un tarado, no, así no voy a aprender nunca. Well, they like to punish themselves. So it is, I think, our responsibility to help them get out of that place and don't let themselves mistreat themselves. So that is crucial because that comes before the learning of English. Okay, I have some case studies. I will go quickly through all of them. These are cases that we have right now, yes, and which are true challenges. Leo is 48. He's going through a divorce. He has 4 children, and he's a true beginner. Or he was a true beginner. Now we've been teaching him for 5 months, 3 hours a week with homework. And today he should be next week he should be negotiating sales. He has a sales agreement with another country of a lot of units of devices for health. Okay, so it was really hard. It is still a real challenge because we do have to rehearse at this level. Yes, so I wanted to share with you the true the experience with intensive courses. That means many hours a week with a person with this profile, with a personal life that is complicated. Okay, it works. It costs a lot of sacrifice for both the teacher and the student. Yes, forget about the financial issues. The company is paying for this, of course, because he's a great salesman. Yes, he's the sales manager, and he needs to perform this agreement. So the company is paying. So money is not an issue here, but energy and time is. So it can be done, but it is really demanding. Yes. Then this student is a genius. However, he's too serious. So when he delivers messages, yes, he sounds too academic and to a certain point boring. Yes, so people he doesn't achieve when he wants to communicate, and he's a B2. So he's married, he has a family, so he's busy and he travels a lot. He has like 14 flights in 2 weeks. So his life is hectic, really burnout, and we need to make him be a better communicator. Yes, so what is the main problem? That he sounds too academic. He needs to connect more, to be more creative and more relaxed, more like Manuel. Okay. Case 3. This is another genius who has just moved. She's living in Spain. So the pandemics left some good things for us teachers of business English that we can teach students in other parts of the world because of Zoom. So you see advantages and disadvantages to everything. And well, why is it a challenge? Because it is an obstacle. She's an engineer, and if we cannot make her improve fast, yes, she keeps losing opportunities. So it is a challenge. And this lady is a genius in English when she has to write, when she has to listen. Yes, but when she has to speak, again, she's a human resources consultant. Yes, she has a lot of experience in human resources, and she's missing opportunities because she does have the English. Yes, the level, the vocabulary, the structures, the accuracy, but she cannot connect, you know? So that is what we're working on, okay? Well, conclusions. It is really important, our role as a teacher / educator, yes, / coach. We have to remain being curious. It's never enough, unfortunately. I think it has never been enough, but nowadays in the 21st century, I think we have to keep learning, and not just English, yes, and the mechanics of English and methodology. We have to expand, particularly for business English. You need to be able to know about many topics, and we need to know about sports, about technology, about environment. Why? Because of small talk, the importance of small talk. Sometimes our students don't know small talk. When you go for dinner with a client, you cannot, before the soup arrives, to sign, you cannot sign the contract. You have to go through the meals, through dessert, through coffee. And how do you get through coffee? Talking about small talk, yes, sports, about entertainment, about actors. Oh my goodness, Brad Pitt is not acting anymore. You know, some things that are shallow in order to connect, and then to business. Okay, the weather. Not to talk politics, not to talk religion. In Argentina, not to discuss football. River Boca, we have a big mess there. So sometimes people don't realize. So in the English lesson is the moment for them to think and to have these ideas already prefabricated, pre-made, okay? The material is crucial. Yes, material is crucial. If we only work with textbooks, they find that their progress is slow. Yes, and they can lose motivation. What happens with commitment? Our commitment has to be there. Yes, I tell them that it's pareja pedagógica. Yes, so we have to be in touch, we have to be connected. I am committed to my students, they are committed to me. And customize, yes, the plan. You cannot copy paste for all the students. It is more time consuming, but it's worth. You can use like a basic plan, and then share same material even, but adjusting to the levels and interest. And bond is crucial. Bond is crucial. And this is food for thought. We won't have time for this, but then when we I share the presentation through Buenos Aires Open Center, then you can click there and you have some scenes that we have selected that are really useful to teach the theory of effective communication, to illustrate, yes, with the video, Amy and Sheldon, the Big Bang Theory, and some scenes of movies, so they can see how this shows in not just theory, okay? And here you can see, I am Rosana Luca again. There you have my contact info and the song Show Must Go On, okay? Show must go on, remember the concept, yes, that the students need to keep going. And I would like to add, to finish, that in my conclusions, yes, the role, material, commitment, customized, plan, and bond, to enjoy. Yes, you as a teacher, if you are looking at the watch to see when does this finish, doesn't work, because the student will feel the same. And hopefully you will be able to bond and connect with the student, enjoying their progress, you know, but enjoying is crucial. Although it's our job, yes, I think that after many years, you still have to choose that our profession with passion, okay? Well, I hope you have enjoyed it, and I invite you to contact me, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and I'll be glad to share, to answer questions, or even now, maybe we have a few minutes to answer questions. Moni, do you have questions? Moni, are you there? Hello, Moni, I cannot hear you, Moni, yeah? You're muted. Okay.
Here I am. Thank you very much. Your presentation was really very useful, very interesting to see how to teach adults, because I think that most of us are more used to teaching children and adolescents. So I think that this was really great, and I really think that I enjoyed when you were talking about how to help our adult students to develop their oral skills and how to get ready to deliver presentations. I think that is really so important, because those are the real life skills that those students will need in their different jobs. Another thing that I thought was really important when you said to write coherent and effective messages. I think that that is also so important. And learn to improvise. And well, I would like to thank you also for sharing those testimonials from your students. I think that your presentation was really very clear, because I don't see that there are any questions in the chat box. So maybe we can move on and give way to Clara, who will be talking about some new exams that we have. I will introduce Clara, so thank you very much, Rosana. Hope to have you with us again soon. Clara, welcome, Clara. Clara is Center Exams Manager for Michigan Exams at Buenos Aires Open Center. She's an English-Spanish translator, and holds an MA in English language teaching and applied linguistics from King's College, University of London. Clara has worked extensively in the field of ELT and assessment for the last 20 years. Welcome, Clara.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me well? Moni? Hi. Hello?
Clara, at least I cannot hear you.
Oh. Now, can you hear me?
No, Clara, there is some problem with your mic.
Okay, let me see if I get connected. Now, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, now we can hear
Now
you.
you can hear me. All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity of sharing with you the new exams that we have at Buenos Aires Open Center. Let me share my screen with you. I hope you can see it. This morning I'll be talking to you about the new exams that we are offering at Buenos Aires Open Center. We have recently incorporated different assessment options to cater for different needs, right? The idea is to offer a wider portfolio of exams, and these are the ones that we have incorporated recently. I will be talking about IELTS, about OET, and about Linguaskill. Well, as you know, IELTS is a very well-known examination. It's popular all over the world, and it is accepted by many, many institutions, academic institutions and employers. Well, the IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. As you know, it provides quality, valid and reliable assessment. It is recognized widely, and that is because it is produced by Cambridge Assessment English, and it is a multi-level exam. That means it is available to students with different levels of English proficiency. It covers the 6 levels of the CFR, and it tests the 4 skills. It is available in 2 versions, academic and general training. Students at the moment of registration can either choose the academic module or version and the general training one. In both cases, they will be tested in the 4 skills. Scores are valid for 2 years. This is important to bear in mind because when you actually make a decision to sit for the test, you have to consider that your certificate will be valid for 2 years. So it's different in that respect from other qualifications. At Buenos Aires Open Center, we administer IELTS at least 3 times a month in conjunction with the British Council. And the results are available in 3 to 5 days after the test was taken, because the format is computer-based, which makes it really fast to get the results. Candidates register directly with the British Council. So at the end of my brief presentation, I will leave the email addresses where you can get more information about the 3 exams, right? Now I will be talking to you about OET. This is another exam that we've been administering since the end of 2020. We started with this administration in the middle of the pandemic. OET stands for Occupational English Test. This exam is specifically designed for healthcare professionals. So it is a really good option if you are teaching doctors or anyone involved with the healthcare profession. It is an exam that is offered in 12 different versions that are related to different specialties, like you have general medicine module, dentistry, nursing, veterinary science, and others that you will be able to see the 12 versions if you visit the OET site. The exam, again, as IELTS, tests the 4 skills. And what is really interesting for doctors and anyone in the healthcare profession is that the context of all the tasks is related to their profession. So that is really an asset for this examination. It is valid and reliable because it is produced by Cambridge English, by Cambridge Assessment English and the University of Melbourne. This is a no pass or fail test as candidates, all candidates get a certificate and a score for each of the 4 skills, of course, according to their performance. Results are reported on the CFR again, as is the case with all other Cambridge Assessment English exams. It is accepted internationally, and the number of institutions, hospitals, and clinics that accept OET is growing exponentially. Now it is widely accepted in the USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Ireland, Singapore, and Dubai. At Buenos Aires Open Center, we administer the paper-based format monthly. Candidates register directly with OET, and results are available approximately 3 weeks after exam date. That is 21 calendar days, which is something which is really interesting for you teachers if you are preparing students for this exam. There is a very complete source of preparation material in the occupationalenglishtest.org preparation portal. There you may get sample tests, special skill-focused material, videos of different speaking interviews, and many, many useful materials. Now, finally, I'll be talking about Linguaskill, right? Linguaskill is another assessment option by Cambridge Assessment English. It's a quick and convenient online multi-level test again, and it is powered by artificial intelligence technology. This exam has been designed for adults, 18 plus, either for work or university. It tests the 4 language skills but modules can be chosen at the moment of registration. Reading and listening come together, and then you have the optional writing and speaking modules. It comes in 2 versions. As from this year, we have General English Linguaskill or Business English Linguaskill. It can be taken anytime or place because it has remote proctoring, can be done from home, and the results are available in within 48 hours through a test report. Of course, the results are aligned to the CFR and to the Cambridge English scale. So, well, these are the 3 new assessment options that we're offering at BAUC in order to, cater for wider needs. I will be sharing with you, here I'm sharing with you email addresses where you can get and request further information. IELTS directly with the British Council, OET, that's my email address, and Linguaskill, 𝗕𝗔𝗢𝗖 will be very happy to offer you further information, right? So basically, that's it. This is a very, very quick presentation to brief you on the news, what's new at Buenos Aires Open Center. Well, thank you very, very much. And now I think we're going to the raffles.
Yes, thank you, Clara. And well, I hope you found, everybody found this morning's webinar interesting. There's lots of useful information. And now we are going to have our raffle. And well, I have a surprise visitor today, somebody that I'm sure you know who will be helping us with the raffle. I would like to introduce 𝗕𝗚𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧, who is now Business Development Manager for Blink Learning in Spain, and he will be conducting the raffle. Hi, Martin, welcome.
Hello, Monica. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me today for the raffle time. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I want to thank Buenos Aires Open Center and congratulations, because I know there is a lot of effort behind this. So thank you very much, Buenos Aires Open Center. So I'm going to share my screen now for the raffle. Let's see if you can see now. Let's wait some minutes so you can see my screen live. Let's check. Can you see it now? In a couple of minutes, I think I'll be, you'll be, seeing my screen. I'm sharing my screen with you for the raffle now. So here we've got, all the participants. So included 465 participants. So thank you very much for joining us today, this morning with Buenos Aires Open Center. Let's start with the raffle. We have 3 prizes. 3 tokens for Linguaskill. You can choose, a token and the module that you like at your own choice. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Buenos Aires Open Center, for these 3 prizes for the participants. So let's go to start. I'm going to show you that we've got all the email addresses here as well. So you can see sharing all the emails. So 465 emails included in this one. And we are raffling 3 prizes, okay? 3 tokens for Linguaskill. Remember, there is a module at your own choice. So let's go to options now. We're going to select 3 winners. Then we're going to share with you the information. And we will filter, if we've got duplicates here, and let's confirm. So ready? Are you fully ready? So let's go here. So it's 4, 3, 2, 1. And the winners of this raffle today are 𝗕𝗕𝗟𝗖𝗔𝗖𝗛, Noelia Gonzalez, and 𝗧𝗘𝗔𝗔𝗖𝗛𝗘. So congratulations. I'm going to generate then the certificate for this raffle. Remember that you've got, in this case, a module that you can choose. So thank you very much, Buenos Aires Open Center. It's a pleasure to be here with many known people, friends, and colleagues from Argentina. And Monica, all yours now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Luciana. Thank you, Rosana. Thank you, Clara. Thanks all of you for joining us this morning. And we hope to see you again on Saturday, the 20th of August. Any questions, remember that you can contact us. We will be sending you our contact details. So hope you enjoy the rest of today, this Saturday, and lovely having you all. See you in August. Thank you.